We are live. A Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash starts right now. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning has the day off. You out there? Well, Phil's hold on last night. They dug their claws in, and they got the win over the Cardinals in game one of the set. But there was a lot of twists and turns and storylines in there. We'll get into it. I could use your help all day. Hit me up on the White Horse RV text board 609 403 0973. 609 403 0973. Me and you hanging out together till 6 o'clock tonight. What's up, everybody? Phil's game last night had a no-hitter going. Then you had basically the Phillies, I don't want to say run out of pitching, but it was pretty obvious. And Don Mattingly said after the game last night, if they went to extra innings, that Garrett Stubbs would have been the next pitcher for the Phillies. They had nothing left, which begs a question that we talked a lot about yesterday. We'll get into it. Make your Christmas Day plans. The Sixers' Christmas Day opponent has been announced. Their opening night opponent has been announced. And their home opening opponent has been announced. We'll get that to you coming up in a little bit. Vic Fangio revealed a little bit of news today that I think we can certainly dive into a little bit later. We got our new Golic Minute, the Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. It's a Tuesday, which means the Cooney Report is here. We've also got Tyler Zulli going to be filling in for Frank today for the Phillies Mailbag. He is Frank's co-host on the Run It Back podcast. Those guys do a great Phillies podcast. I heard Tyler on with Josh on Hanging with Henning on Saturday. He adds a great dynamic of Phillies coverage, and he's been a veteran covering Phillies sports for years. And him and Frank have teamed up for the Run It Back podcast. So Frank is actually on vacation. So Tyler Zulli, his co-host on the Run It Back podcast, will do the mailbag today, and he's got some mailbag questions. If you have a Phillies question that you want us to discuss, hit us up at 609 403 0973. Let's look at this Phillies game last night. I want to start with this. So you've got Andrew Painter pitching. They call up Rangel yesterday, and I'm imagining the reasoning was if Painter's pitching, we probably need someone to piggyback. He goes 5 1/3. He's got a no-hitter going with one out in the sixth inning. 5 1/3. The longest no-hit bid of his career, obviously, and it matches the longest Phillies no-hit bid this season. Zach Wheeler had one back on June the 4th when he pitched against the Padres. So Painter's got a no-hitter going into the sixth. Now, it was pretty apparent that Painter looked like he was kind of running on fumes. He gives up the hit, then another hit, and they score a couple runs. And then they have to go to the bullpen. And that's when things got interesting. I don't understand. Like, does Don Mattingly, Dave Dombrowski, do they not talk to each other? Like, last night, you have to know going in, there's a good chance that Andrew Painter maybe doesn't get into the sixth inning. You know, he hasn't had a great track record this season. So I get it. Yesterday, I'm hemming and hawing because they didn't call up Alex McFarland. And maybe they do call up Alex McFarland today. I would imagine they're going to have to make another bullpen move because Rangel threw 2 2/3 last night. And I would imagine he's probably burned and cooked, and they don't want a guy who is running on fumes sitting in the bullpen tonight unusable. So he throws 2 2/3 last night. Gives up 6 hits and 3 runs. I mean, he's just hanging on for dear life, Rangel. Painter gets into the sixth inning last night. And listen, Painter pitched well. He's up to 93 pitches. He probably shouldn't have gone into the sixth, but he's got a no-hitter going, and they're throwing him out there, and then he was just done. You go back to that sixth inning, there's a pretty good possibility that if the Phillies had a full bullpen arsenal last night, that Painter is out. He goes out there. Look, he gets the out. Then he walks JJ. Then he gives up a double. Then he gives up a single. All right, 3-2. So the first hit of the game is the double after he walks a guy. Then he gives up the Burleson single. They take him out at the 3-2 game. Rangel comes in. He strikes out the first guy, and then he gives up a single. Now, all of a sudden, he's facing Wynn with a chance to get this game tied, and give Rangel credit. He gets a strikeout. That's probably where it should have been the end of the line for Rangel. But apparently, they just didn't have anybody else. And he comes out in the seventh and pitches well and gets out of that inning. And this is where it got a little dicey, because then they throw Rangel out there for the eighth inning. And he gives up a double, then another double, then a single. Then he gets an out, and then he gives up another double, and then a single. They just didn't have anybody. I mean, you could see Mattingly there was like, dude, I got nobody here. You are going to have to get us out of this inning. And give Rangel credit, he did get out of the inning. It's 6-5 now in the eighth. And Rangel gets out of the inning, and then they go to Bolin. And Bolin, by the way, strikes out. Weatherholt gets a fly out and a line out to end the game, and they win 6-5. But what was going on there last night? So yesterday, we're going, why did they not call up McFarland? Well, I guess the reasoning is they figured Rangel would be the piggyback there to Painter. But that's fine and dandy. You called up Chase Sugar. Was Sugar not available last night? Or did you think that Rangel gave you a better chance than bringing Sugar into that game? And if the answer is, I thought that Rangel gave you a better chance than Sugar coming into the game, why is Sugar here? You obviously could have used help last night. You obviously were in a situation where you needed somebody to at least get up in the bullpen. If Rangel couldn't get out of that inning, somebody had to get up. No, instead they have nobody getting up. So why would you call Chase Sugar to come back here if you didn't think he could help you at all? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's perplexing, to say the least. If you look at it from this perspective, okay, we knew Painter might be short, so we got Rangel up here. Okay, great. You called up Rangel, but you also had Sugar Cap come back up. So last night, and by the way, Don Mattingly said after the game last night that in the event that they went to extra innings, that Stubbs would have been the next guy, not Sugar. So either Stubbs has passed Sugar on the circle of trust, or Sugar wasn't available last night. So I don't understand this whole situation on why Chase Sugar would be here. Now, I said this yesterday. I was wrong yesterday. Maybe I'll be wrong again today. I got to imagine Rangel gets sent back to the minors today, and somebody has to come up. Somebody has to come up and replace Rangel because he's cooked. He pitched 2 2/3 last night, so he can't go tonight. So I would imagine today that Alex McFarland would get called up here and that he would be the guy that comes up. Maybe I'm wrong. We shall see. But Andrew Painter gave you everything that he had last night. And after he leaves the game, your backup plan is Ellen Rangel and Jonathan Bolin. They had nobody else, apparently. So you're telling me you went into a game last night after you called a guy up from the minor leagues and only had 2 bullpen arms available? I find that hard to believe. But alas, that's what Don Mattingly told us after the game last night. He said, if the plan was, if they went into extra innings, what would they have done? He said they would have gone to Stubby. He said after the game that he used the only relievers that were available, and that if they had gone to extra innings, that Garrett Stubbs would have had to pitch. He says that was the plan. So why was Chase Sugar called up yesterday? You didn't have another arm available, but that's the guy that you called back up to the team? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. perplexing, frustrating, all the words you want to use. Throw them into the pot, pick one out, and that's the one we'll go with. Phils do have the best record in Major League Baseball in one-run games this season. They are 21-11 and are tied for the second most one-run win. They have 21 games in which they have won by one run. Blah, blah, blah. Easy for me to say. Schwarber seems like he's getting going, 2 for 3 with a double. 9 games this season where he has reached base safely 4 times in a game. He was on base a bunch last night. Did get walked twice. So it's good to see Schwarber contributing to the offense again. But Phillies bullpen is becoming a large problem, as we know. And then last night, hey, listen, you do have to give them some credit for being shorthanded last night and still holding on to win. And by the way, remember, the Phillies win that game 6-5. Remember how they scored the run early in the game with the pitcher throwing the ball over the first baseman's head? I mean, without St. Louis being the sloppy play, you don't even possibly win that game. You know, Marsh scores on that Hill. Was it Hill? I think Hill squibbed one back to the mound. And the pitcher throws it over the first baseman's head, and Marsh comes all the way around to score. If you don't score that first run of the game, maybe you're tied. A couple guys that did stand out in the game last night that I think we got to give a little shout out to, because the Phillies sat Trey Turner last night, and in his place was Edmundo Sosa, 2 for 3, 3 RBI at shortstop. And Edmundo has been kind of really struggling at the plate. And I don't know if it's because, you know, he's not used to playing left field or whatever, but he has not contributed at the plate nearly as much as he has in his past, where he has had a little pulse and a little life. But last night he had a pulse and some life. He hit that double late in the game, 3 ribbies last night. He's a big factor in why they won that game last night. You had Stubbs playing for Real Muto last night. And then you had, I guess you could say Hill was in for Bohm. But how about the play that Hill makes in right field to preserve the game last night? We can make a strong argument that if Bryce Harper's playing right field last night, he probably doesn't make that play in right field. So it goes back to what I said yesterday. If you're going to hit Bohm in the 8-hole, you might as well just play Derek Hill so that you have a better defensive situation in right field. I would much rather see Derek Hill play right field than Bryce Harper. I would 1,000% rather see Derek Hill or Brian De La Cruz play right field over Bryce Harper. And then he put Bryce Harper back at first base. So apparently Harper now is having some soreness in his knee, which has resulted in him from him being in the outfield. So now Harper, that's why he was DHing yesterday, and Schwarber was at first base. But are we getting to the point that Bohm is going to become the odd man out? That's what I proposed yesterday. I think Bohm should be the odd man out here. Harper goes back to first. Hill goes to right field with De La Cruz. You don't have to play Hill every single day, because I get it. If you expose him every single day, he probably, they start to figure him out, much like when you play Edmundo Sosa every single day. But you could play Hill 2 to 3 days. You play De La Cruz 2 to 3 days. And this way they're not getting overexposed and playing all the time. But both of those guys are better right fielders than Harper is. And then Harper goes back to first. And at this stage, Alec Bohm is just a right-handed bat off the bench. Somebody asked me the other day, well, if you're doing that, what do you do with Bohm? I said, I don't care. Put him in witness protection for all I care. I mean, we're at the point that Bohm just cannot be trusted offensively. He's not good enough to supplant Stott right now. Stott, by the way, 266 batting average. He was 2 for 4 last night. If you look at Stott's splits, I remember that we had a listener last year who was just telling me that they need to play Sosa over Stott. And Stott was not very good last year. I would like that same listener to say, you know what? Stott has actually proven me wrong. He has played very well this year. In fact, he's got reverse splits. He's hitting .321 against lefties with a .406 on base percentage against lefties. Stott is. And I said last year, I don't need to see Edmundo Sosa play every day. If you're the guy who says, I want to see Edmundo Sosa play every day, you're the guy who really doesn't know much about what you're talking about. Anybody who watches this team play has come on and said, you can't overexpose Sosa. So right now, Bryson Stott is becoming one of your most dependable guys. Seriously, 321 against lefties with a 408 on base percentage and an 859 OPS is Bryson Stott against lefties this year. Now, I think the sample size is very small, so I don't know that I trust those numbers. But my point being is, somebody said to me, well, why not platoon Bohm and Stott at third base? I don't need to see Alec Bohm play. I don't need to see Alec Bohm play. If you're going to hit him in the 8-hole, you have now come to terms with the fact that you think that he is not a contributing player to this offense. Well, he's certainly not a contributing player defensively. So then I don't need to see Alec Bohm play. If you want him to be a right-handed bat off the bench, you get into a situation where possibly, I don't know, you need someone to hit for Crawford or Marsh against a lefty, and you want to go that route. I don't even know that I need to see that. And I'm not even a Bohm hater. I'm just being realistic. He's been terrible this year. And defensively, I would much rather Derek Hill in right field and put Harper back at first base. So at that point, Alec Bohm has no place to play. And I'm okay with that. By the way, this year for Bohm, he's 233 against lefties. So it's not like his numbers against lefties are like, well, at least he's still hitting lefties. He doesn't even have to hit it for any of those guys, if you ask me. But I think the big story last night was, what is the front office doing? Why do they not bring up a fresh arm from last night? For last night, I should say. You brought up Rangel. He was here to be kind of the piggyback. But yesterday you called up Chase Sugar. Why? I mean, that to me is just such an indictment on the whole situation that the manager had to come out after the game last night and say if we went to extra innings, we would have had to pitch our catcher. And by the way, Stubbs was catching yesterday. So you were going to have to then take him out from catching to have him pitch in extra innings yesterday. Think about that. Don't they have a rule in Little League, like if you catch, you can't pitch in the same day or something like that? Can you imagine if they had to implement that rule because the Phillies needed their catcher to pitch? 609-403-0973. If Derek Hill's not playing right field yesterday, they probably lose that game. If Derek Hill does not make that catch in right field, the Phillies probably lose that game last night. And that is why, big picture, I think you need Derek Hill to play right field as much as possible. I think you need Derek Hill out there. Not every single night. I'm not trying to overexpose him, but, pick out if, you got 6 games in a week, or even if you play all 7 days. He plays 4. The other guy, De La Cruz, plays 3. You can go every other day. You can play him 2 days in a row. The other guy this way, they're both getting some playing time. They're both kind of getting regular at bats. You're keeping them both fresh. And then days when you have a left-handed pitcher, Hill can go play center field. So he's playing center, and you got De La Cruz in right. Now your defense is much better because Hill is a tremendous outfielder. He has had a huge impact on this defense. With the win last night, the Phillies do gain a game on the Braves. They're 7.5 back there. They have a 1-game lead over the Padres for the 3rd wild card spot. You've got Christopher Sanchez tonight. He's won 5 straight starts. We talked about he could be the first Phillies pitcher to win 6 games in a row since Ranger Suarez did it back in 2024, and that would get him 1 game closer to being a 20-game winner. And I think right now, we're seeing a guy in Christopher Sanchez. I think he's going to win 20 games this year. And by the way, this is an interesting game because the Cardinals, they're 4.5 games behind the Phillies for the wild card spot. So if you keep beating them, you at least kind of pushed one team out of this race. So this series definitely still has some meaning. 609-403-0973. Thea from Mays Landing. I know Mike Gill is ecstatic. Painter pitched very well yesterday. I would be ecstatic no matter who pitched well last night, Thea. But, yeah, I like Painter, and I want Painter to do well, and you should too. So, yes, I am ecstatic. Now, I think they left him out there probably a little too long, but I understand it. They just don't have any other options. Knowing what you know afterwards, you can yell and scream and say, why are they not taking this guy out? I'm thinking, how the heck did they not even have anybody warmed up right now? They didn't even have anybody warming up when Rangel was out there. But at the game's end, when Mattingly says the next pitcher would have been Stubbs, it's hard for Stubbs to warm up when he's also catching. Think about that. He says our next pitcher would have been Stubby. So, wait, didn't you call up Sugar earlier in the day? Why not him? Oh, he wasn't available. Sorry. Glendon Apseekid. The stat you gave about the Phillies winning one-run games is really not a good thing. That's why they have such a low run differential, and I don't think many teams have won a championship with such a bad run differential. Time will tell. Well, winning the one-run games is a good thing. It means they're winning close games. It means that they're winning tight games and games that have high pressure. They're winning those games. But it also is what you said. They have a low run differential. And how many teams have won a championship with a low run differential? I do know this. The 2008 Phillies have the same exact record as the Philadelphia Phillies do today. The same record. What are they? 62 and 64 and 56. The 08 Phillies, I think, had the exact same record at this point. That 08 Phillies team was not a great regular season team. And they caught fire in September and kind of went into the playoffs and had just great bullpen. I don't know how the Phillies bullpen will stack up by the time they get to October. And I got a couple names that I have in my head. Phil and Brigantine. Mike, the Phillies are an enigma wrapped in a conundrum. Mattingly saying Stubbs was the next up was just another confounding thing about this team. I agree 100% about getting Bohm off the field and realigning the defense in platoon right field. I really like Hill and big energy. Arise is possibly rubbing off well with the lefties. Harper calls him the sprinkler right to left, sprays all over the field. I love it. I think Hill playing right field definitely makes their outfield defense much better. And then you get Harper back to first base, and the odd man out is Bohm. And it is what it is. I mean, Bohm's not helping this team win a championship. He's just not. And as I said before, there's no way Harper makes that play in right field last night. 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Get on board today. The Golic Minute later on this hour. Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Tyler Zulli is in for Frank today on the mailbag. So if you have a Phillies question for Tyler, make sure you get that in. Coming up next, ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Wait till you hear what your Christmas day will sound like. Plus, the Sixers' opening night opponent and their home opener and Christmas Day opponents have all been revealed. We'll tell you what they are. Coming up next, right here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And don't forget, you can watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. All right, 2:30 Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Text board is open on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. Tomorrow, we're going to be live at Yuri's in Wildwood. Phillies Day Game Watch Party against the Cardinals. Big game. Stop out and watch the Phillies with us tomorrow. 97.3 ESPN live at Yuri's in Wildwood. Go to the bridge. It's the best of the Jersey Shore, Yuri's and the Boathouse. So the Sixers put out their schedule for the first week of games, their home opener, their NBA season opener, and then Christmas Day. So 3 games have been released for the Philadelphia 76ers so far. But the Christmas Day is pretty unbelievable when you look at it. This is the Christmas Day for all the sports fans out there. You ready? You ready for this? You wake up Christmas morning after watching the Eagles on Christmas Eve. The Eagles play Christmas Eve. You can listen to that game on 97.3 ESPN against the Houston Texans. So Christmas Eve, you have your little party at your house, maybe some families over, maybe some friends, and they come over to the house Christmas Eve. You got a little Eagles, and you got some Texans. So you got that game. So I've been asking for years, you got to give me something on Christmas Eve. I don't want the Hawaii Bowl. That's all I get, Hawaii Bowl. Now I got an NFL game. So that game, Christmas Eve, bang, locked and loaded. And then I wake up, and it's time to go. Spurs, Knicks, noon. Packers, Bears, 1 o'clock. Heat, Celtics, 2:30. Bills, Broncos, 4:30. Sixers, Lakers, 5 o'clock. Bang! I got a little Sixers-Lakers. By the way, I predicted that one yesterday. I said the Sixers will be out west because of the whole Disney on Ice. So the Sixers go out west. Sixers, Lakers, LeBron back at crypto, taking on his former team. Thunder, T-Wolves, 8 o'clock. Rams, Seahawks, bang! Nuggets, Warriors, 10:30. Hello! How about it? There you go. There's your Sixers. There's your Christmas. There's your Eagles. Ho, 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 everybody. Love it. Now, get back to business. The Sixers opener, October 20th. It's a Tuesday night. They will take on the New York Knicks at the Garden. Banner ceremony. LeBron, Jalen, Maxey, Embiid, VJ at the Garden. Bang. That starts the season. Listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. It is a Tuesday night. By the way, that night would also be Game 7 of the American League Championship Series. So if the American League Championship Series goes 7 games, it would be up against LeBron and the Sixers against the Knicks. Then the Sixers home opener. By the way, the prices right now, the get-in price for the Sixers game at the Garden, the get-in price for opening night is $2,000. $2,000 to go see the Sixers take on the Knicks at the Garden in the opener. Sixers home opener, Thursday night, October 22nd. They take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So LeBron's former team comes to Philly, the team that he said, I'm going to go Philly instead of Cleveland. They come to Philly to play the Sixers on the 22nd. Now, took a quick look at the baseball schedule, just in case the Phillies actually do something that maybe we don't really think they could do. The World Series starts on Friday, October 23rd. So there is no conflict with the Sixers opener with the Phillies and the Sixers home opener with the World Series. So even if the Phillies make it to the World Series, we don't have a conflict there. The holiday season, beautiful. The baseball playoffs, no conflicts with the Sixers and the excitement of the start of their season. This is all shaping up. This is all shaping up to be a heck of a fall. Now, I got to see. The Sixers' full schedule will come out on Thursday. Tomorrow is the NBA Cup games, which don't really care. I don't know why anybody was like, ooh, they have an NBA Cup game. Like, really? Give me the schedule tomorrow. I don't need an NBA Cup. Until they figure out how to make the NBA Cup something that is more, there's a way to do it, and I've brought it up many times. I don't feel like talking about it in this moment, but there's a way to make the NBA Cup something that fans could get behind and be more excited about. What they're doing now is just nobody cares. The World Series, what I would look at real quick, if the Phillies make the World Series, there is a travel day on Sunday. The Eagles play on the 26th. There would be a conflict there. Oh, boy. Eagles-Cowboys on Monday night, the 26th. And that would be Game 3 of the World Series. Now, the Eagles have had some nights where they've had conflicts, but it's never been an Eagles-Cowboys Monday Night Football game with the World Series. Ooh, gosh. The other one would be, that's it. That would be the only conflict. They do not play on Sunday. That's a travel day. And if the Eagles happen to play Monday night, October 26th, they play Dallas that week. Now, other playoff games, if you go and look at the other playoffs, Sunday, October 4th, that's Eagles-Rams. So there would be a conflict possibly there. Although the Eagle-Ram game is a 1 o'clock game, I would think the Eagles game would be a 1, and the Phillies game would be later on. So I don't think you would have a conflict. I think you would just have 2 games same day. Then you would have the 11th. And the Eagles play a 9:30 in the morning game, so there would be no conflict there. The next time you would have a game that would be on a Sunday would be the NLCS on the 18th. That's a 1 o'clock game, so you wouldn't have a conflict there, so you're all good. Doesn't look like there would be a whole heck of a lot of conflicts with the baseball. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. I definitely think that you have a situation where you could certainly get ready for a fun fall. Let's get to a couple text messages. Pat in Ocean City. Great show today, guys. I think I changed my mind. With the ineptitude managing the bullpen, is it too late to fire Don Mattingly and bring back Rob Zombie? I was waiting for when that would happen. Listen, I'm not a blame the manager guy, so I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Mattingly's done a great job or a terrible job. I just think he is definitely in a situation where this team is not good enough. They're just not good enough. And you saw what Rob Thompson had to deal with. You had a situation where Rob Thompson just didn't have the talent, and now you're seeing the same situation with Don Mattingly. He just doesn't have the talent. The manager can only do with what he is given. They do not have the talent. JW in Ocean City. Mike, the one group that is not happy with the Christmas Eve game is the season ticket holders. We have to buy the entire package, and I don't know anyone that wants to go to the game on Christmas Eve at 8 o'clock. It would be even difficult to get rid of the tickets for face value. JW in Ocean City. I guess, I don't know about that. I think there is a certain group of people that like holiday games. I do think there's a certain group of people that like holiday games. And you might be right, though. I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted on how that is. On how the fans, especially like families, Is that something that you want to take your family to the game 8 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve? Not if you have young kids, most likely. Brian in the HC. Mike, this team reminds me of Rocky in the movie Rocky Balboa, a.k.a. Rocky 6. Fundamentals, we don't have it. Consistency, we don't have it. Defense, we don't have it. But what we do have is 2 pitchers who are as good as anyone, a top-level closer, and 3 bats that can hit some bombs. Let's be real with this team. They've always been the streakiest bunch of hitters, and they're never hot at the same time. What I'm saying is the Phillies have a puncher's chance, but everyone needs to get hot at the same time. Go Phils. Brian, your one point that is very valid is, by the way, to that text message, the Eagles game on Christmas Eve is not 8 o'clock. It is a 5 o'clock Christmas Eve game, now that I'm looking at the schedule here. So the game's at 5. It's not an 8 o'clock game. It's a 5 o'clock game. Actually, no. It is, what time is that game? I got all sorts of things on. This is the sheet from the Eagles. The pregame, it says, is at 5. Is it an 8:15 start? It might be an 8:15 start on Christmas Eve. I got a text from Jeff in Ocean City. He says, Eagles kick 5 p.m. Christmas Eve. Which one is it? Because I'm looking at the Eagles sheet that they send me, and it's a little confusing. That game is a 8:15 Christmas Eve game. Yeah, 8:15. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Garrigan Galloway says, I'll take your Christmas Eve tickets at value. Yeah, see, I think there are people out there that like the Christmas Eve game or the holiday games in general. I think there is people that maybe don't have families that will go to the game, even if they do have families. Sometimes, you might get them as maybe it's an early Christmas present. Yeah, Jeff in Ocean City, the 5 o'clock start time is the game against Seattle on that Saturday. You can check that out. All right. I definitely think that you take a look at all the things that this fall has going on for it. All right? 609-403-0973. We got a lot of games. We got a lot of games to take a look at. All right? Let us know. All right, 609-403-0973. That's the text. Get involved. We got more coming up here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. 97.3 ESPN Sports Bash. We got Tyler Zulli coming up at 3. He'll answer your Phillies questions. We got a lot of Phillies to get to with him. Got the Golic Minute coming up in just a second. Phillies lineup, when that comes out, we'll give it to you. We gave you the Sixers Christmas Day and also the schedule for opening night and the home opener. You can listen to those games right here on 97.3 ESPN. The Golics are back. Listen to the Golics weekdays from 10 to 12 right through ESPN. I definitely look forward to the Golic Minute this season. We'll have that for you each and every day on 97.3 ESPN. Let's get today's Golic Minute, where those guys had this to say about the start of the NBA season.
Same thing that to have heard coming out of Jaylen Brown's mouth since he left the Celtics indicates that all was not well in the relationship between him and Jason Tatum at the end there. That was the duo that Sports Talk spent years in the early part of their career trying to pry apart before the championship showed everyone it could work. And now we got the proof of what we always thought might have been going on there. I want to see those fireworks when they're back together. It'll be more passive aggressive because that seems like their style of communication. But at the very least, I felt like that would have been the juicier storyline.
Yeah. He thinks that the Sixers Celtics. I agree. I thought that the Sixers Celtics. Now, I know on Christmas Day it would have been interesting to see the Sixers Celtics, but keep in mind, a lot of times the Sixers are out west at that time of the year. So it's hard to possibly get them matched up with a team from the East Coast. Now, I know they've played some East Coast Christmas games in the past. You know, they played the Celtics a couple of years ago. That game was in Boston. Generally they play on the road. You know, they played the Lakers on Christmas Day. The last time they did it, it was on Christmas Day of 2001. Allen Iverson played and the Sixers lost against Kobe, Shaq, and the Lakers. That was the last time those two teams faced off on Christmas Day. But this time around, the game will be out there. It'll be LeBron going back to what was Staples, is now Crypto. And I think that Golic does have a point, though. Would you have rather seen a situation where you got Jaylen Brown going up against his former team? Or would you have rather seen a situation where you got, because there's like not a lot of animosity between LeBron and the Lakers. They just kind of had a split and moved on, and LeBron's here, and here we go. Now, I think it's going to be a big deal. 5 o'clock. It's the 5 o'clock game, which does pretty well in the ratings, by the way. We were looking at this the other day, that 5 o'clock one. So they're basically suggesting that that is the big one, that is the big game in the NBA that day. The Sixers and the Lakers, they think that's the biggest game of the day. And we told you the full schedule. So you got the Knicks playing the early one there. And then I think they have the, what was it? The Celtics were in the second game there on Christmas Day against the Heat. So it's Spurs, Knicks. It's Miami against Boston. It is Sixers, Lakers, and then Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and then Denver and Golden State. So that's what you have. But as Mike Golic Jr. brought up, he thought that the better game to put on Christmas would have been the Sixers and the Celtics. The problem with that is if you put the Lakers against somebody else, now, could you have done the Sixers and the Celtics? Could you have done the Heat against the Knicks and then the Spurs against the Lakers? Would that Boston Sixer game be of more interest to the national public? Or do we think that the LeBron matchup with the Lakers is more of a draw? I don't know. I think, you know, and we'll do this a little bit later on with the Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. I definitely think that Evan Cohen had a point, that putting LeBron into that spot kind of shows you that LeBron is still the top draw in the NBA. That he is still, and for, you know, you have one more possibly go at it with LeBron. And I think the NBA is going to try its best to use everything in their power to get the most out of LeBron in these last 2 years, if it's 2 more years. Because as I said many times before, I don't think the NBA got enough out of LeBron with him being with the Lakers. I don't think the NBA got as big of an impact from LeBron as you would have thought that you would have got if he played on an East Coast team. Now they got him on an East Coast team, and he'll play with the Lakers. Excuse me, with the Sixers against the Lakers on Christmas Day. Hour number 1 of the books, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And we invite you to be a part of the show. As always, we want to tell you when the Phillies lineup comes out, we'll have it for you here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And our text board is always brought to you by White Horse RV in Williamstown and Galloway. Your RV adventure starts here. Next hour, Tyler Zulli joins me. He will be stepping in for Frank today with the Phillies Mailbag. He'll answer some Phillies Mailbag questions. We'll talk some Phillies with him. That is still to come. And football at 4, Adam Caplan is in the house. We got the Nuggets today, plus the Cooney report, and you guys out there on this Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. 3 o'clock, Sportsbash Live this hour. With you till 6, hanging out with you. Brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning. Time for the Phillies Mailbag. We answer Phillies questions. Frank Close has been doing it for years. I don't know that he's ever missed a segment, but Tyler Zulli is his co-host on the Run It Back podcast. Those guys do a great job there. I heard Tyler this weekend on Hanging with Henning, so it's good to have him pinch hitting right now on the Sports Bass Live on 97.3 ESPN as he answers some Phillies questions. Let's get into the game last night, Tyler. First off, good to have you, man. Welcome aboard. What's happening? Holy mackerel, that game last night had a lot of layers to it, did it not?
Yes. First of all, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks to Frank for trusting me to fill in because you're right. He hardly misses anything. And he said he's last-minute vacation. I was like, pretty well deserved. But you're right. It was a lot to kind of digest yesterday between the 5 no-hit innings from Andrew Painter and hanging on for dear life with Alan Ronhell and a bullpen that I don't know if Don Mattingly was kidding or not. It basically said if they got the extras, Garrett Stubbs was pitching. I don't know how much that was facetious, but it was an interesting game yesterday for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about that because he said if they went to extra innings, they would have gone to Stubby. And if he's kidding, then fine, because they brought Chase Sugart up yesterday, and you're wondering at no point did they think, hey, Rangel's in some trouble. Maybe we need to get somebody warmed up. So the indication might be that he wasn't kidding.
I think, there's probably some layer to joking to it, but there probably is a serious nature of like lose the battle, win the war type of situation going on. I mean, their bullpen has been exhausted over the last couple of days between several extra inning games and really just being used a lot as of late just because they've been tasked with a lot of different bulk games and, for a long time, Aaron Nola only giving you 4 1/3, 5 type of situation. Andrew Painter struggling. They've been really used a lot this year. And it does kind of give me an idea that they may have waved the white flag in this one to get healthy and, or at least get, rejuvenated for the next couple of games. And then, obviously heading into the series against the Twins this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, last night Rangel goes in. I mean, I think that Painter probably pushed the limits a little further than they wanted him to go too. So yesterday I'm on this, like, how are you bringing up Sugart when you have McFarland? Why do you think that McFarland has been overlooked? Why do you think McFarland hasn't been given an opportunity, or is that opportunity coming?
Yeah, I think I definitely do think it's coming soon, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in the next couple of days. But I think, for a while there are obviously rules in place with once you go down, there's a certain amount of days you have to stay down before you can come back up, assuming there's no injury involved. So that was part of it. I also think that they're doing what they can to protect him a little bit in the sense of I don't think they want to rush him up if they don't have to, but I think at this point you've pretty much exhausted your internal options. Boland's been excellent. Duran's been excellent. Outside of that, your internal options have all been underwhelming to subpar this year. Between your lefties, Banks and Alvarado really struggling. Backus has struggled with his command this year. He's been hurt. It's really been an underwhelming bullpen. Keller, struggles with command. He's done for the year, probably going to miss next year. So I think at this point, you've probably exhausted all of your internal options. And even with bringing Raley in, you bring Killian in, he's going to miss some time, it looks like. I think McFarland's probably due to be the next guy up it probably has been due to be the next guy up for quite some time now, but I think
I wouldn't even be surprised if it was today, right? I mean, if it got to that point, because I would ask you, Tyler, I mean, yes, he doesn't have any experience here, but a couple of years ago, they went into the playoffs with Kirk Green, who had pitched 3 games, if that. I mean, he had no experience. He came out of nowhere. You have a full month of August and September to see if this guy can actually help you, and it seems that they're doing everything in their power. We know that Chase Sugart is what he is. So it is a little perplexing that Sugart was not available last night, yet he got called up instead of a fresh arm. Because I think last night McFarland was eligible to be called up. I think yesterday was the 15th day. Maybe I'm wrong, but if he's not up tonight, does that say they just don't trust this kid?
Yeah, I don't know if it's not trust him because the stuff is legit and the fastball's gotten better as his career has progressed. His velocity's increased. His swing and miss stuff has gotten better. Now, I'm not locked into every Reading game. I'm not locked into every Lehigh Valley game, but the stuff you see from this kid tells you that he's probably done enough to get that ascension at this point. I don't know if it's not trust, but I do wonder if it's more like a protect. You brought up Kerkering, right? And they elevated Kerkering from basically single A to the majors within a calendar year. And he's been a serviceable major league pitcher, probably a guy at this point who's better suited for 7th inning work than 8th inning work. And that's okay. But they've relied upon him as an 8th inning guy for the last couple of years. I think at this point, what they're trying to do with McFarland is not rush him, but I think their hands are probably tied to the point where if they have any kind of, slip up, any kind of injury or any need for extra bullpen arms, he has to be the next guy up at this point.
I almost look at this, Tyler, and say, not only do you have to be the next guy up, you almost have to throw him into the fire and see if he can pitch in high leverages, because you don't have anybody to do that either.
Yeah, I read your article today. It's an interesting piece because it is an immediate call to basically go from, minor league to high leverage reliever. But it's not a team like if Alvarado were pitching like he was pre-suspension, then you probably don't need to do that. If Tanner Banks was pitching like he did last year, you probably don't need to do that. If Brad Keller were healthy and pitching like he did with, maybe not even with the Cubs, but like to a serviceable level, you probably don't need to do that. But at this moment, in between your starters and Joan Duran, you've got one guy you really, really trust, and that's Jonathan Bolin. And he's elevated himself to more than what we expected him to be, A, because he's pitched well, and B, because it's been a necessity. I think that there is a spot for McFarland to get some, I don't know about 8th inning innings, but I definitely think some leverage innings just to see what you can get out of the kid.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what ends up happening with that bullpen moving forward, because they need help. And I don't know. I said Seawald. I mean, maybe they kick the tires on a guy like that to see. His whip's been pretty good this year, but he's been hit around a lot since mid-June. But at this point, you might have to kick the tires because he might be a better option and hope that he catches a little lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, with Seawald, he's interesting because he's had so much success in the past. He was their closer the year they went to the World Series. And he's just a guy. I asked Jonathan Papelbon about him a couple of years ago, and I basically said, hey, this guy doesn't throw hard. He throws a lot of – he's in the zone a lot. How does a guy like that get away with it? And, given a PG answer was he has fortitude is basically how he described it. He's a guy that goes out there and pitches with moxie and wants it more than you do. But when you throw 90, 91, 92, and you live in the zone a lot, sometimes you do become – a guy who gets hit around. And I think that happened to him a little bit towards the end of his Diamondbacks tenure was, it's a guy who has had success and also maybe is starting to be figured out a little bit. There's ebbs and flows to a guy that throws 91. He's been in the big leagues for forever, right? He's pitched with several different teams. I think he's just in a down spot in his career.
Tyler Zulli is one of the hosts of the Run It Back podcast, along with Frank Close. Frank is on vacation. Tyler's stepping in. A couple questions in the mailbag this week. Let's see what some of the listeners want to know. This one's interesting. Says, I know it's early, but, and I brought this up on my show on Friday. I want to kind of get into that conversation with you. If Painter shows out like he has the last 3 starts now, he's pitched well 3 in a row. Is there, number one, any chance he would start a potential playoff game over Nola? Let's start with that.
My inclination says no for 2 reasons. One, Aaron Nola has made 11 postseason starts in his career. He's not the same guy that he was when he's made some of those postseason starts, but he does have double-digit postseason starts under his belt, whereas Andrew Painter basically has double-digit starts in the majors under his belt. The second thing being, I think Aaron Nola has pitched better as of late, which would play into that just a little bit. 6 of his last 7 starts, he's given up 3 earned runs or fewer. 10 of his last 13 dating back to June, he's given up 3 earned runs or fewer. Listen, I'm not going to excuse the early season struggles because there were far too many 5, 6, 7 earned run starts in there where he was giving up a lot of runs early in games and not giving them a lot of depth, which has put them in, in part, put them in this bullpen issue that we just talked about. But I think if you were to ask me right now, if they needed a 4th starter, which would tell me that they've gotten to at least the NLDS and had to play multiple, wild card games to get there, obviously, I think they would go with Aaron Nola still.
All right. So with that, let's peel the onion back a little bit more, Tyler. Painter, in your mind, is he an option for a bullpen arm.
Yes. Yeah, I certainly think so. I think the fastball doesn't have the same shape that it did pre-Tommy John, and I don't know if that will ever get back. But last night was encouraging to me, not just because of the five no-hit innings, but it's because of the changeup usage that he had in last night's game, like 28, 29% changeup yesterday. Got a good chase rate on it, did a really nice job against the lefties. Got a lot of down and away dive, enough glove side run to keep it active. And I do think that if that were to be the case, Andrew Painter will be on the postseason roster, and I do think that he will be in the bullpen come the wild card round for sure.
Yeah, because you take a look at I don't know where you would put him in the bullpen. I mean, is he a guy that you would take a look at and say, I would like him to throw high leverage innings?
I think it's probably more piggyback, kind of what they did with Ranger and Nola last year. Now, obviously, Ranger had significantly more playoff experience and significantly more playoff success than what Andrew Painter would have heading into this postseason. But you saw it last year against the Dodgers. Nola pitched, I want to say pitched 2 in that game. They got what they needed out of him. Ranger pitched the bulk innings. And you end up winning that game, which is surprising considering, you're not expecting to win an Aaron Nola postseason start, but they win that game based on the strength of matchups. I could see something like that happening. Now, it's not a lefty, which hurts that cause a little bit. Ranger obviously was a lefty. But I do think that you could maybe see a piggyback situation where Nola gives you a couple, Painter gives you a couple, and you're effectively just trying to bridge the gap between the first 6 outs and the last 6 outs. And you're doing what you can to win a postseason game.
I only bring that up because you're thinking about what the Dodgers did to you when they used guys like Glasnow, Snell, and obviously Sasaki is closing games out for you. Is Painter – I'm only saying because you don't have a lot of options. I mean, would you rather see Painter – and listen, he's going to need to show the same consistency between now and October. But if he's pitching as well as he is right now, can you say, hey, you're a better option than Jose Alvarado. You're a better option than Orion Kirkgreen. Sadly, it might come down to.
Well, I think as long as the command is good, right? That's priority number one. That's priority number one for every pitcher. That's a no-doubt statement. But I think the command becomes multiplied in those high leverage innings, the 6th, 7th, 8th inning type of stuff. So his command has been much better. He's getting ahead of more hitters than he did in his first go through. So I think if he can get ahead of guys and stay ahead, then sure, I think you could start to consider him, for some of those leverage type of situations. If you get into a postseason set where you can set your rotation up, where you do get, Wheeler, Luzardo, Sanchez, at least 2 of those 3 guys to start the series.
All right, Tyler Zulli's filling in right now for Frank Close, the Phillies mailbag questions. That first question about Painter, I think there's going to be more questions about Painter. What do you think about Painter his last 3? Are you buying in that he has found it and he's a guy now that we can kind of trust a little bit here?
I feel better, for sure feel better. I think that the command is priority number 1. I think his release point has been much, much cleaner. I think he's not falling off the mound as much as he was that first time through, especially towards the end before he got demoted. I think the command has been better. And like I said, that changeup last night, I'm not sitting here telling you it's going to be his big bread and butter change of, life-changing pitch. But I'm a big proponent of every single pitcher at the big league level should have something that dives down and away to opposite side hitters, whether it's a changeup, whether it's a splitter. If whether you have a sinker that does that type of stuff, a 2-seam, I think you have to have something that has some downward dive away from opposite side hitters. That could be something that changes the trajectory of the rest of his season. And I feel more comfortable now than I did, when he got sent down for sure.
All right, you take a look at obviously Sanchez pitching tonight. You feel pretty good about where when you turn that thing around. I want to get your opinion on the Phillies record when their big 3 guys pitch. This team is frustrating. They're sloppy. There's so many questions. But when those 3 guys pitch, their record is, if not the best in baseball, one of the best. So is their mindset kind of, look, we know we have flaws, but when those guys pitch, we are the best team in baseball, fair or unfair?
I hope it's not that from a professional standpoint, but it certainly could be. I think that there's a real chance that might be the case where they go, hey, we get 3 with these guys on the mound. We're feeling pretty comfortable. The trap that I don't want them to fall into is to get those runs early and then sit on their hands for 6 innings. and let these guys try to sweat out 6 high leverage innings, because when you get to a postseason setting, 6 innings is a good start. Like, when you're in the regular season, you might let a guy go back out for the 7th. You might let a guy go back out for the 8th type of scenario. But if you're at 95 pitches after 6, that might be it for you. And so it can't just be and it matters like the type of leverage pitches that you throw, right? If you have 2 innings with bases loaded and 1 out and you get out of it unscathed and you pitch in well, but it really taxes a starter. So I think that they may feel that way in the sense that, like, hey, we've got 3 bona fide aces on our roster. Jesus Luzardo is one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball. I've been saying that since they've acquired him. They've unlocked something in him that's made him even better. I know his floor is lower than the other 2 guys, but his ceiling is just as high. When he's locked in like he's been for the last 3 months now, his ERA is 3.2, and he had a rough start to the beginning of the season. Like, this is a guy who is a legit bona fide top of the rotation type of guy. But I don't want them to fall on their laurels a little bit and fall into that and say, hey, we've got these 3 guys, we can win a postseason series, because you've seen in years past, especially last year, you didn't win a postseason series, and those 3 guys pitched several times each. Sanchez made 2 starts, Luzardo a start and a relief appearance, and Wheeler obviously didn't start last year because of the injury. But those guys pitched several times themselves, and you won 1 game. So I don't want them to fall on that, but it's something nice to fall back on.
We talked a lot about bullpen. Let's go to the offense and starting pitching. Let's go to the offense a little bit. I said the other day, if you're going to hit Bohm in the 8-hole, you might as well just pull the Band-Aid off, play Hill in right field or De La Cruz, let them rotate so they're not getting overexposed, and put Harper back to first base. Somebody says, well, what happens with Bohm? I said, oh, well, I mean,
I don't care.
He's a bat off the bench. Are you on board with that? Because the play that Hill makes in right field last night, Harper or anybody else doesn't make.
Yeah, so I'm not going to call myself an Alec Bohm defender, but I think that what Alec Bohm provides when he's going is he doesn't strike out a lot. Now, that's a product of not seeing a lot of pitches, but he doesn't strike out a lot, and he's good with runners in scoring position. He drives a lot of runs in for a guy that doesn't hit for a lot of power. But that defense only gets you so far if you are either not hitting 300, not having close to 400 on base percentage, 370, 380 on base percentage, or playing Nolan Arenado type defense, first to third and now at first base. Like, there is not a skill set that Alec Bohm has other than his callback to hitting with runners in scoring position that justifies, making all of these defensive moves. And it's worked so far. Stott has been good at third. He's swinging the bat well. They're moving him up in the lineup. They're giving him more credibility. But I always thought the easiest way to go about this was for Luis Arraez to play first and Bryce Harper to play right. If you want Luis Arraez to play second, then Bryce Harper probably should eventually go back to playing first, and you have that platoon back and right. I'm not sure how much more Alec Bohm is going to provide this club. And this is coming from a guy who, like, 6 weeks ago, I was like, they might re-sign him because the third base market is dreadful next season. Oh. And it's gotten to a point where I'm not sure how you
Well, what's more possible now, right, that they bring Arraez back and keep Stott at second, or that they would do what you just said?
You would hope it's the first one, right? Like, just from a productivity standpoint. Stott's obviously, one more year of arbitration next year. Arraez, it's been weird. Arraez hasn't gotten a multi-year deal in several years since being traded from the Marlins, right? He was with the Padres, signs the 1-year deal with the Giants, going to be back in the free agent market this offseason. I would like to see what an extension looks like. I'm curious to see how much money and how many years. My guess is probably you're looking at a 2 or 3 year deal worth 15-ish per season. That's just a guess. I have no inside information, but I am curious to see what an extension would look like, because I think that's a much better play.
Well, obviously, bullpen issues, starting pitching depth lacking, and offense. They just have been so inconsistent.
Other than that, they're great.
Yeah, other than that, they're pretty good. But my question with that is, are we looking at a playoff team? They're only 1 game up. So, I mean, do you say, look, we got a long way to go? I'm not even sure this is a playoff team.
So I asked the question. I posed it the other day. It says it feels like it's an if more than a when. Do I still think they're a postseason team? I do. They have 42 games left. 24-18 gets you to 88 wins. I think that comfortably gets you in. It's probably going to need more than the 83 that the Reds got last year, but you're probably looking at like 85, 86 gets you in. I think that this team can play at a 24-18 clip the rest of the way. So my guess is that they, yes, still are a postseason team, but it feels way more like an if than it does a win.
All right, Tyler Zulli from the Run It Back podcast jumped in. I know there's one more here. Let's get that one here because it's an interesting question from Ed. He wants to know, will the Phillies season be determined by the level of road success? That's an interesting question because the Phillies haven't been even very good at home this year.
Yeah, they've actually scored more runs and given up less runs on the road than they have at home this year. So I went down and I went to see how many games they have left on the road and who they play. They have 23 road games left, and the combined record to 500 of these teams that they play is 24 games under 500 the rest of the way. They have obviously the rest of this series against the Cardinals, who are a game under 500. The Twins are 2 games under. Maybe the most disappointing team in all of baseball, the Seattle Mariners, are 7 games under. The Angels are 29 games under. And then the Mets are 14 games under. The only teams that they play with a winning record the rest of the way on the road are the Diamondbacks, who are right in front of them in the wild card standings, and the Atlanta Braves, who are now 23 games over 500 and running away with the NL East. I think it's an interesting question by Ed. You know, you always try to play the game of play 500 on the road and, you know, be a little bit better than that at home. And that should get you to like the 90 win mark. I think in this case, Ed's point is probably, yeah, I think it's going to be determined on how well you play on the road because you have some very winnable series coming up in the next month and a half or so, you know, including this one against the Cardinals. They've played better than my expectations for the year, but they're not a very good team. I think you should win this series. Minnesota bought at the deadline and still has a playoff chance because the AL Central is not particularly good. I look at that roster, it's not very good either. Like there's some, and then of course you get the Angels who outright stink and finally decided to sell. Like
fired their pitching coach today.
Yes, they just fired a whole bunch of guys. I think that there are a lot of very winnable series on the road over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, to Ed's point, I think winning on the road is going to be a very big determining factor on how you play it, if and how you play into the postseason.
All right, Tyler Zulli here on a Tuesday edition of the Mailbag with Frank Close. Frank is out. Tyler's in. Check out the Run It Back podcast, Philly Central, also something that Tyler is a part of as well. And he joined us here at ESPN. Good conversation, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you having me on today.
There's Tyler, and you can check out him and Frank in the Run It Back podcast. And, of course, the Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN, your home of the Philadelphia Eagles and the 76ers. And, of course, when LeBron plays, you'll hear him opening night right here on 97.3 ESPN. We've got the game. It is Tuesday, October 20th. The Sixers will take on the Knicks in the season opener. We'll have it for you on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up, Vic Fangio presser today. He revealed a couple of interesting things today. One, will the Eagles defensive players play in the preseason? You'll hear what he had to say about that. Two, what about their big acquisition on defense, Jonathan Grenard? Where is he currently in terms of getting back out on the field? He answered that question and more. The Vic Fangio presser is coming up next on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget, tomorrow we're live at Yuri's in Wildwood. Pop out and see us there for the Phillies day game watch party against the Cardinals. That is a 2:15 first pitch. So we will be live when the Phillies are live tomorrow. Yuri's Wildwood. Pop out. The Eagles' first depth chart has been released for the preseason, and we take a look at that on the other side, plus Vic Fangio. That's all coming up next right here on the Sports Bash. nothing crazy. The only thing on there that I guess stands out a little bit is Jonathan Grenard not on there because he has not been a part of it, and you'll hear why and how long he could be out for when we play the Vic Fangio presser coming up in just a couple of minutes. Wide receiver Devontae Smith. They do have Lemon on there as a starter, along with Tavian Wicks. Barkley, backed up by Bigsby. Jalen Hurts, the backup quarterback they have listed as Dalton and McKee. Line is all the same. A lot of Dickerson, Jurgens, Steve Johnson. Tight end, Goddard, Johnny Munt to back up. Eli Stowers is third. On defense, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Jomo, Jalen Hunt, Zach Ball, Jihad Campbell, Reek Woolen backed up by Jonathan Jones and Jacorian Bennett. Quinyon Mitchell backed up by Kaylee Ringo. And then Cooper DeJean is listed as starter at 2 positions, nickel, corner, and safety, as are the backups Michael Carter to both spots and Andrew Makuba. So there's the first depth chart for the Birds. But Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio had plenty to say about his defense, including if we plan on seeing them play in the preseason. Here is the Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio right now on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Let's hear what he had to say about that and more here on the Sports Bash.
We haven't really talked about so far this summer. Jimmy Castro Field seems like he's made a lot of plays out there. What's been your impression of him?
Yeah, he has. He's done a good job competing. He did the same thing last year in camp, too. Had some good practices, actually showed up in a game or two in the preseason. And he's kind of picked it up. You know, he's been around a while, so he knows the deal. And he's out here with a purpose and competing. What do you think of that?
You've been able to get Vic to allow you to play the starters in the preseason game.
Have what?
You've had the starters play in the preseason game. Unlike the offense the last 2 years, will that be the plan this week?
You know, we really haven't discussed it in detail. We'll see how that goes. But you guys have been around here.
Mac Williams, looks like, he's done some nice things these last couple of days. How different is he this year 2 versus last year?
Yeah, a lot different. He's just matured. You know, I've had a way of phrasing it to him that I really can't say here, but he's done much better. And that's been more than just the last few days. It's been pretty much all camp and in the short off season.
Similar to Ty Robinson as a year 2 player. Have you seen strides from him?
I've seen some. I think the last day or 2 have been better than the previous days. So we're hopeful that will continue.
You have an update on Jonathan Grenard, if he's close or not?
No, we ain't going to see him for another couple weeks at least.
Trot, we've talked a lot about as well. I think it was a 2-minute period. He was getting some first team reps. Is there a possibility there could be piecemeal next to Zach Ball? Are we at that point?
Piecemeal? What do you mean?
With Jihad?
Yeah, I mean, Trot's had a good camp. I think I said that here recently. I wouldn't put much stock or read into who's out there with who. You know, when it says ones versus ones, we have a list of, 20 to 25 guys that could appear out there with the one defense. So I wouldn't read into that.
Quinyon had another interception yesterday. What are you seeing as far as him, like being around the ball, getting those INTs?
Yeah, he just keeps improving. You know, he's like we said, just a really good dude as a football player and not as a guy. And he works hard. He's not resting on any of the laurels that he's gotten in his first 2 years. He still needs his first interception, of his career.
I know.
He'll quickly remind you he's got 4 in the playoffs, but he's still a virgin in the regular season.
What have you seen from Byron Young this camp?
Good. He's Another guy that I think second year here. We got him, I guess, last year at some point during camp. I can't remember when. He's doing good, getting better.
What's your view of Jalen Hurts and this new offense going? Your defense versus Jalen Hurts. What's your view of Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I think Jalen's having a good camp. I think he looks faster. There's been a few times where our guys think they had him and they really didn't. I think he's moving good, and I think he's doing a nice job with the new offense. A lot's been made about him, all these coordinators he's been with, but it's basically been the same offense every year. This is different, and I think he's done a great job with it.
How can you either coach or call games differently in year 3 with the experience you have than in year 1 when you guys were new to it?
It's always every year is a new adventure. Some of these guys have been here for 3 years, some of them haven't. You always try and find the niche that best suits your guys, and highlighting their strengths, try and limit their weaknesses. So, it's an evolution. I mean, I don't think being here the third year has a whole lot to do with it.
What do you see from Grenard behind the scenes during this layoff?
He's been great behind the scenes. He's into practice. He's into the meetings. He's doing everything he can to stay up and be prepared as much as you can without doing anything physically. So, he's been great that way. But, when he does come back, whenever that is, the thing you miss by not partaking in training camp, which he probably won't, you got to get callous to playing football, NFL football, the banging, the running, the change of direction, the fatigue of it. And, he's going to lose that. If you guys would remember back before the 11 CBA, there'd be a lot of holdouts, with first round, second round, and a lot of guys would sign the week of the first game. And there was a real correlation to those guys getting hurt because they weren't callous to playing football. So that's going to be something we have to be conscious of with him when he does get back.
Overall, I want to ask you a question about possible trends across the league. It seemed last year there was a spike in the number of teams that were having plays go up against the play clock. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I don't know that it's been a spike. It may have been, but I think it's more particular to certain teams than a league trend. But yeah, offenses are, a lot of the offenses try and get into the perfect play based upon information they perceive at the line of scrimmage, and that could run the clock down.
Where are you on the safety battle right now? Are you getting any closer to figuring out who's going to be in this one?
Yeah, I think it's a good competition. I think between Marcus and Mike, had a very good camp, as has Marcus, and I'd say that's a real good competition right now.
Now that you've seen Reek in pads, he was so good in the spring, the athleticism. Have you seen that translate with the pads on?
Yeah, at times he can get a little I don't want to lazy or sloppy with his technique and have a bad down or two, but he's still showing everything that I think he can do. He's just got to get in such great shape and callous to football that those don't happen.
As you evaluate quarters, what value do you place on ball skills?
It's part of the equation for sure. But I like PBUs too, or blanket coverage. They got to look somewhere else.
Overall, how do you feel about the quarterback depth shaking out behind the top three guys?
It's evolving. We had John Jones there, and he's going to miss some time here. He got an issue physically. Max coming on, JB's in there. I'm going to miss a guy's name or two, but yeah, it's a spot that we hope can clear itself open to where, if we need another corner, that we don't have to put Cooper back out.
It's Vic Fangio. You heard him right here on the Sports Bash Live, your home for Eagles football. Fangio, I thought a couple points that really stood out. Preseason, you guys have been here. You've been around here. I think it sounds like Vic would like to play some of his guys in the preseason, but he says, you guys know what it's like around here. Jonathan Grenard, won't see him for a couple of weeks, is what he said. Oof. So it doesn't sound like Grenard will be a factor, at least in the preseason. We didn't expect him to see him in preseason games, but how much will that affect him to get ready for the opener, which is September 13th against the Washington Commanders? You can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Football at 4 is coming up. The future of the Eagles' offensive line. We'll talk about that because, we know that Lane Johnson said the other day that this is possibly his last season. So what could this offensive line look like without Lane Johnson moving forward? Plus, the Eagles get ready to take on the Ravens today. Eagles preseason football this Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. What about the Ravens? Adam Caplan was with the Ravens in Baltimore, and we'll talk about that as well. The Eagles depth chart is out. Not a lot of crazy news when it comes to that. I also think that Adam said last week, players 48 through 53. About 5 spots on this roster up for grabs. Who's going to get them? Who are the battles between? Sports Bash has that for you and more. Cooney report tonight at 5 o'clock. We're coming up next. We've got our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Evan Cohen. The NBA schedule proved what? That's next. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.
As much as we could all sit here and write Victor Wembanyama's insane success this early in his career, same with Anthony Edwards, who's been to 2 conference finals already. The face of the NBA, by far, is LeBron James. He's on opening night in that prime slot game against the Knicks ring ceremony. He's on Christmas against the team he just left. And the first week of our games on ABC, ESPN, who was his first home game against? The Cleveland Cavaliers, the city that he's most associated with, where he's from in Akron. LeBron James is by far and away, still in 2026, 23 years after he was drafted, the face of the NBA.
Evan Cohen said that this morning. It's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Is Evan Cohen right? Is LeBron James still the face of the NBA? Looks like it. Looks like the NBA agrees with what I said a while back, which is but coming to the East Coast, we think we can regain LeBron's popularity and get back on the NBA map with high ratings. Now, are they going to beat the NFL in ratings? Probably not. You had a big game that day at the same time, like a 4:30 NFL game that day on Christmas is probably one of the better games of the day. Bills, Broncos, I don't know. Lakers, Sixers, Bills, Broncos. If you're picking a game that you're like, you know what? I need a little rest from the football. Maybe it's Bills, Broncos. You got Packers, Bears earlier with Spurs and Knicks. So if you're picking a basketball game, maybe you say Bills, Broncos. I'll take a little break from that. I'll go Sixers, Lakers, and then I'll go back to Rams, Seahawks later on at night when the Thunder play the T-Wolves and the Nuggets play the Warriors. But Evan Cohen said something that I agree with, and I think it all comes back to LeBron James playing on the East Coast. It doesn't have anything to do with LeBron James playing with the Sixers. It's LeBron James playing on the East Coast. And I have said it many, many times that I think the LeBron factor in L.A. didn't have the impact that many people would think when your highest profile player plays for the Lakers. When you play for the Lakers, you think, well, you got LeBron with the Lakers. And for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe because I was younger when when Kobe played for the Lakers, and you felt like Kobe was the biggest star when he was in the league because I'm younger and I see Kobe play all the time. I'm up at 10:30 at night. I'm not up at 10:30 at night anymore. So I don't see LeBron nearly as much. So I definitely think having LeBron James back on the East Coast makes him yet again the face of the NBA. You know, right when you thought, hey, we got Wemby, this thing's trying to turn, it's like, we got LeBron on the East Coast, he's back. So I definitely think that Evan Cohen is 100% right about this. I think Evan Cohen is spot on. And the NBA says we have 2 years of LeBron on the East Coast before he's done. We're going to ride him out. You know, because a lot of times you're saying, hey, it's time to kind of pass the torch. It's time to get somebody else's league. And then LeBron comes back and he's like, don't you forget about me. Here I am. And I definitely think the NBA is going to try their very best. We already know that the Sixers are going to be on the most amount of primetime games that you're allowed. I think it's 34. They will be on as much as humanly possible. We already saw the first week of the season. They're going to be on opening night on the 20th. Knicks banner ceremony. Tuesday night the 20th. You can listen to the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Then we'll be back on for the home opener, which will be on that Tuesday night. And you can listen to that game on 97.3 ESPN, Thursday night against the Cavaliers. But we know Christmas Day that they get the 5 o'clock game against the Lakers. And as Evan Cohen said, doing on Sportsmanlike today, yeah, that kind of shows that LeBron James is, again, the face, or still is the face of the NBA. And the Sixers have him. You know, the other thing is, I don't know if anybody saw Drew, what's his name? Drew Hansen, Handler, the guy who's the shot coach that works with LeBron, with Joel. He put out a picture of Joel yesterday. My gosh, did he look trim. I mean, he looked thinner in this picture than the one that he posted last week. Indeed. This one was kind of from like an interesting angle. He just looked so thin in the picture. Again, I'm not saying it means anything. Doesn't mean he's ready to have an MVP year. Doesn't mean he's going to play 80 games. Doesn't mean he's going to play 70 games. Doesn't mean he's going to play 60 games. He just looks a lot more trim than I've seen him in a long time. Nuggets today. Yesterday on the Nuggets, we talked about my lunch experience with Billy Schwein from the locker room. Well, the Schwein wants to respond today at 4:30 for the Nuggets. Stick around for that here on the Sports Fast Live on 97.3 ESPN. Also, coming up next, Adam Caplan will give us a little insight as the Eagles get ready to take on the Ravens. What are some things we can look for? The future of the offensive line next. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, where, of course, we were yesterday and every Monday. Fanatic Sportsbook, Ocean Casino, the Gallery, Bar Book, and Games is back for another football season with the Sports Bash. Big screens, big bets. Game day hits different at Ocean. To learn more, visit theoceanac.com. Don't forget to check out the live entertainment. Sebastian Maniscalco is back September 17th through the 20th and the 24th through the 27th at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. And, of course, we got football at 4 back for another football season. We have pretty much made it through the offseason. And one of the things, where we talk about football at 4 and through the offseason, many times you're talking about what possibly could happen, things that you're looking forward to during the course of the year. One big thing is the start of the preseason. And I think once the preseason starts, that first game, then you want to kick it into gear. So the game starts on Saturday when the Eagles take on the Ravens, and that will be less than a month from the start of the season. It's the 15th on Saturday, and then the season starts for the Birds against the Commanders on the 13th. So we will have both of those games. Every Eagles game, of course, you can listen to right here on 97.3 ESPN. Andrew, Jeff, and Adam will be with us all season long as we talk Eagles football with the guys from the Inside the Birds podcast. And right now we are back with Adam Caplan, as he does every Tuesday here for Football at 4. Let's take a look at the Birds getting ready for Baltimore. We had the Vic Fangio presser earlier today. A couple interesting things came from that. And Adam is with the Ravens this week as well, the Eagles' preseason opponent. Number 1. What's going on, Adam Caplan? How are you?
I'm well. I also saw the Giants yesterday, which we could talk about later in the week. But, yeah, look, I heard Fangio's press conference. I was able to listen to it in my car. Jonathan Jones injury, Mike, that's not good. He is their third corner. Like, he's not even being competed against for that job. That's not good. He turns 33 in September, so he's 33 in NFL years. He's got a shoulder injury. Sounds like it's going to be a little bit. So, Mike, that's not good because Jaquan Bennett is not – he's not taking the number 4 job from Mac McWilliams. Mac McWilliams has the inside track to be the 4th corner, Mike. And the other guy's kind of been a sleeper. Tariq Castro-Fields, a decent-sized corner, formerly yet another former 49er, 6th round in 2022, who's been around a little bit. Niners, the Commanders, the Panthers, and now the Eagles. He was with the Eagles last summer, got cut. Once he cleared waivers, they had to wait a couple of months because he had injury settlement. Then he signed to their practice squad. And he was there until the playoffs. So, Mike, they're in a little bit of a tough spot in the corner. They probably are going to need to add someone by the start of the regular season.
Yeah, other thing that Fangio mentioned, I don't know if it was a surprise to you or not, but he said, we won't see him for a couple of weeks when it comes to Jonathan Grenard. I think we anticipated that he would miss, but does that worry you at all?
Well, look, my feeling was because he's got a pectoral strain, we wouldn't see him until the regular season. But here's what Jeff and I were talking about off the air today. He had shoulder surgery. Now he's a pectoral strain. We don't know what side, whether it's his left or right side, the surgically repaired side. But like, here's the problem: how in the world could he lose weight? How could you be lifting weights normally and getting your body built up for the season when you're coming back from pectoral strain? So that's a concern. So let's just assume Howie Roseman is right, the Eagles general manager, that Grenard will be able to play week 1 against the Commandos. But how many snaps can he handle? How strong is he going to be? Good. The good thing is they've got plenty of depth. It's not a problem. But that's not good for him being a quality player early on. Remember, he came back from major shoulder surgery. We need to remember that.
Yeah, Grenard, obviously, too, a key pickup. But as you just kind of hinted at, I want to reiterate with you, if Grenard is unable to kind of have the role that they thought he would have, did they have enough to kind of hold off until he's maybe ready to have a bigger role?
Yeah, they're actually really good there. They're really good there. With Jalen Sun, with Nolan Smith, with Arnold Ebiketie, we were joking on our show that Ebiketie's going to make more than $4 million, but if everybody's healthy, he's not going to play. Like, he would dress, but Fangio only plays 3 edges. And don't forget our guy, A.J. Epinesa, who's been a training camp sleeper, who now even increases his chances of making the team with Grenard unable to practice. So, yeah, this is it's interesting. As I said on your show last Friday, there are about 7 or 8 spots that are available. Back in spots 45 to 53. And there are going to be some guys who are going to make it. You go, wow, that guy made the team. Well, look, the bottom of the roster's got a lot of competition. Some guys who might surprise you that wind up making the team.
Yeah, and on Friday's show, you also talked about you think spots 48 through 53 are up for grabs. It'll be interesting to see that all kind of play out over the next 3 weeks with these preseason games. Because I would imagine hearing Vic today, he says, you guys have been around here. You know how this plays out. I don't think we'll see any starters, but those back-end guys, that's who we're watching for.
Yeah, all right. So, no, what I meant is 45 to 53, not 47 to 53. It's really 7 or 8 spots. But Vic knows. I get it. They have it because they'll do their game planning after Thursday. So Thursday's their last practice of the week. It's a light one. Then they have the walkthrough on Friday before they travel to Baltimore Friday afternoon. I'll tell you. We'll talk more about this as we preview the game on Friday, Mike. But it is here's where it comes down to, right? Guys at the bottom of the roster, UR Bernard, right? Deontay Lawson. Chance Campbell, who was my guy in OTAs, who's had a good training camp. Cole Wisniewski, unfortunately, is hurt. He was hurt in the spring. JT Gray, the special team superstar. Keely Ringo should make it because Ringo is a special teams player only, but he's a lead at it. Guys on offense. John Ojukwu, who I mentioned earlier, Mike, he was the backup left tackle before Lane Johnson got hurt. Because remember, Markel Bell was running with the ones at right tackle, and Fred Johnson was kind of backing up at both tackle spots. So John Ojukwu, he's a long shot, and Willie Lampgood has really come on. They're just a lot of, and all these backup receivers. Johnny Wilson, Quez Watkins is highly unlikely to make it because they kind of know who he is, but he's back because he knows the offense. So Zion Wilson, who I know they're very excited about as an undrafted free agent. They think they got a pretty good deal on. So there are a lot of guys way back of the roster who need these 3 preseason games to see if they could get on the roster.
All right, let's look at the other day, and Jeff and I talked a lot about this yesterday. We heard what Lane Johnson said, and it's been talked a lot about that. Lane Johnson said this is possibly his last season with the Philadelphia Eagles. And you look at the future now of the Eagles offensive line and what that might look like down the road with his potential departure.
All right, so let's take a look at this. After this season, Mike, let's say Lane, we don't put percentages ever. We haven't done that for 9 years. We're not going to start now. We've been fooled before. So, because I remember talking to people close to Jason Kelsey. Sounds like this is probably going to be it. It wasn't. Sounds next year. He's not going to play. He wound up playing. So we don't do percentages, Mike. It's a complete waste of time. But we can only go by what Lane said. He's leaning towards retirement. Doesn't mean he's going to definitely do it. If he does retire, they're training Markel Bell to be his replacement. He's really not a left tackle at this level. Not athletic enough. Coordination's got to be a little bit better to play left tackle. Could play it if he needed to, but he's a right tackle, as we told you exactly when he was drafted. Fred Johnson's contract's up, Mike. He signed a 1-year deal. So they don't have a swing tackle past this season. This preseason game, the other 2, plus the rest of training camp. Jake Majors, number 75, has been a good story. He's been cross-trained at center and guard. They're going to take a hard look at him. He's got a real shot to make the team. They're going to take a real look at him in the preseason. The problem is he's got really short arms, too short to play guard. Outside chance to get a backup center job. Drew Kennel is absolutely making the team. He's their future backup center who they've cross-trained at guard. Miles Hinton is not there yet. They tried him at guard, hasn't worked out. Hasn't really worked out at left tackle. He's a major long shot to make the team. Willie Lampkin, 61, there's a small portion of Eagles Twitter who's infatuated with this guy. We're going to learn a lot, Mike, through training camp and the preseason. Number 61, he's built like a fire hydrant. He's a short guy. Mike, he's under 5'11". I can't remember the last time an offensive lineman played at 5'11" or shorter in the NFL. He could shock us, Mike. He could shock us. So they'd like to get a couple of these guys on the roster. Kennel's definitely part of the future. Because right now, Mike, honestly, You could only count on 8 guys to make the roster on the offensive line. After that, Kennel's making it, Bell's making it, Fred Johnson's making it.
Well,
After that, Mike,
I guess
they
one
don't know.
question is with Lampkin is, you know, last year they got criticized for going after him. You know, what did they see in him that they would do something that got them, you know, got them in not in such a good light?
Well, here's what happened, Mike. There's an unspoken rule with general managers that you do not claim a guy who was waived injured. You just it's kind of something you just don't do.
Right.
But you know, Howie doesn't have to play by the rules. He could do it. Look, he's close to some of the front office people, so maybe they have a little bit of hard feelings, but it's about your football team and what's best for you. And Willie Lampkin's a pretty talented guy, but he's so short that it's just teams that you couldn't justify a draft pick on him. That's the truth. And the Rams really like the guy, and they did not want to carry him to the because what you have to do is a non-vested player. If you put him on injured reserve, they're on IR for the full season. That means you can't practice. So what could have happened was, Mike, had he passed through waivers unclaimed, he would have went to their IR and they could have worked out an injury settlement, and he could have come back in 2 months. So look, they were not happy about it. Oh well. But Willie Lampkin's he's gotten reps in training camp at guard and at center. So the good thing is, Mike, through Kendall, through Lampkin, through Majors, they may have a future with a couple guys here who could at least be good backups for the future. But they got to get through the rest of training camp and the preseason.
Adam Caplan is, of course, ready for football, as we all are, and you are with the Ravens to go check out the Baltimore Ravens today. That is the Eagles' preseason opponent, number 1. And you've seen some Eagles. You've now seen some Ravens. So how do these two teams stack up?
Yeah, so the Giants and the Ravens are similar in that both teams run a 34 front. Jesse Minter is the head coach. His dad, Rick, was on Chip Kelly's coaching staff here in Philly. A lot of people probably don't know that, but Rick was. He was I believe, he was a linebackers coach. I talked to Coach Minter, Rick, over the years. He's actually on Jesse's staff, I believe, as a senior defensive assistant or something like that. But Jesse was the former Chargers D coordinator and Jim Harbaugh's defensive coordinator at Michigan. And he's really smart, detailed coach, good energy. Offensively, it's going to be a little different. They don't have a fullback. Patrick Ricard, speaking of the Giants, with John Harbaugh, is the Giants' highly paid fullback. So it's going to look different under Declan Doyle, Mike. Declan Doyle, the youngest offensive coordinator in the National Football League, at just 30 years old. I think David Blau might be a little bit older, who's the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator. Declan Doyle has not called plays before. He interviewed for the Eagles offensive coordinator job, Mike, you might remember. And in fact, maybe it's because he removed his name from the running, and maybe he knew he was going to get the Baltimore job, but it's going to look different. And he did work with Ben Johnson last season. He didn't call the plays as an offensive coordinator, so this is his first time calling plays. He's only been in coaching like 7 years. He was like 20. Most of his career was with Sean Payton. He had 1 year under Ben Johnson, so he's going to bring a lot of Sean Payton's concepts. So it's going to look different. Now, unfortunately, Mike, it happened when I was there and I saw it happen. Nate Wiggins, number 2, their best corner. He suffered a left knee or leg injury. He went up and jumped for a ball that was to Jacoby Lane, their third-round receiver out of USC, and they got tangled up, and Wiggins was writhing in pain. I felt so bad. It was really bad to see. I hate to see that when a player's kind of tossing in the field. He's so upset. His head's moving from side to side. He's in so much pain. So they're not very good at corner in terms of depth. So that's going to affect them if he's going to be out a while. But they're going to look different, Mike. They're going to look different. Then on Friday's show. Good. What's that?
So no Harbaugh.
No Harbaugh. Yeah, no Harbaugh. It's weird. It is weird. I got to tell you, Mike, you bring that up. It's very odd not seeing John Harbaugh there. But I just saw him with the Giants yesterday. How weird is that? Like that was really odd. Like that part so far my mini. I'm going to have a longer tour next week. I should be at Eagles Patriots, but seeing John Harbaugh not in Baltimore today and seeing him with the Giants yesterday, that like blew my mind. I'm so glad you brought that up because it just was really like I seen Pat Shermer there, former Eagles assistant coach, right, who was their head coach years ago, and it's just kind of weird seeing John Harbaugh there. But There are a lot of ex-Ravens people, a lot of ex-Raven players and coaches there now with Baltimore.
All right, Adam. By the way, first unofficial depth chart of the season for the Birds was released earlier today as well.
I haven't even looked. What is he? I don't know.
Nothing crazy. Jonathan Grenard's not listed at all. That was one thing. So Nolan Smith is there. Jalex Hunt, Carter, Davis, Ojomo, Bond, Campbell, Woolen, Mitchell. Now, Cooper DeJean is listed as the starter at both nickel corner and at safety, and Michael Carter is listed as the backup to him at both spots. And the backup quarterback is both Dalton and McKee. So you got the slashes there. I don't know. Is there another area that of interest? Everything else seemed pretty status quo. Mekhi Lemon was listed as the starter as 3 wide receivers with Wicks and Smith.
Well, here's the thing, though. Michael Carter now really to start training camp, Marcus Epps is clearly starting over him. Now Carter is shortening the gap, and it's close. I will be interested to see do they let Epps play in the preseason? Will they have the starting defense play? Historically, they haven't, but we'll see what happens here. Epps needs to, by the way.
They actually have Carter and Epps listed as the backup safety / and Carter and Mac McWilliams listed as the backup nickel.
Well, that is true. Well, although McWilliams is playing corner right now more than he's playing nickel. I'll tell you what, man, Mike, the 4th corner job's open. No question about it. Actually, the 5th, depending on if they keep 5th, you could say the 5th. Backup safety jobs are open. 5th defensive tackle jobs open. Interior offensive line jobs are open. Backup receiver jobs are open. Mike, I wasn't kidding when I talked Friday about this. There are going to be some surprises. You're going to, how in the world did that guy make it? Well, they had opportunity and they seized it. That's why.
All right. There you go. By the way, ho, ho, ho. You got Christmas basketball, Sixers, Lakers, man.
I saw that. I said Sixers, Knicks, or Sixers, Lakers?
Sixers, Lakers.
Oh, Lakers. Okay.
Yes.
That
5 o'clock.
And LeBron. Yeah, it's funny, the LeBron ball, so to speak.
Well, you got to have Christmas Eve Eagles and Christmas Day. You got
That's
Sixers.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool. Look, as I told you last Friday,
I know.
I'm just absolutely pumped for this. This is something us Sixers diehards have waited so many years for them to be competitive, and this whole thing came out of the blue, as you know. Because I remember saying on your show, can't get out Embiid's contract, can't get out Paul George's contract. Oops, I was wrong. And man, have I ever been happier?
Nobody saw all this coming, so you're no longer. They had Mike Ganzi's timeline. It was like he was hired, draft day, trades for Jaylen Brown. Signed. I mean, this guy had like the most unbelievable 2-month span that I think anybody in NBA history has ever had.
Like honestly, Howie's had his moments. Obviously, he's had his moments that were just incredible. With Barkley, we could go over them, but as you said, in the short timeline, we'd all have to go back in our minds and within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, who's had a better run. Now I know these guys haven't played yet, but he doesn't control that. He doesn't control the health of the team and how they're used, but this is one of the all-time great runs that a new general manager has made here for sure.
Adam Caplan, everybody, with the Ravens today, but with the Eagles all season long for the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Football at 4, getting ready for the preseason games on Saturday. And, of course, he'll be back on Friday's show. I won't be here, Adam. I'm going to the World Series, so I'll be off. But Josh will be in. You'll have a little Football at 4 previewing the Eagles and Ravens with him.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, buddy. There he goes. Adam Caplan, everybody here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, you can check out the Inside the Birds podcast on all podcasting platforms. The Eagles' first depth chart we just kind of hinted at right there. Smith backed up by Hollywood Brown. Mailata backed up by Fred Johnson. Landon Dickerson backed up by Michael Jordan. So we got Michael Jordan in Philly and LeBron James. How about that? Cam Jurgens backed up by Drew Kendall. Tyler Steen backed up by Jake Majors. Lane Johnson backed up by Markel Bell. This feels like senior night. So-and-so accompanied by Dallas Goedert backed up by Johnny Munt. Mekhi Lemon backed up by Elijah Moore. Dontavian Wicks backed up by Darius Cooper. Saquon Barkley backed up by Tank Bigsby. Jalen Hurts backed up by Andy Dalton and Tanner McKee. On defense, Nolan Smith backed up by Arnold Ebiketie. Jalen Carter backed up by Byron Young. Jordan Davis backed up by Ty Robinson. Moro Ojomo backed up by Gabe Hall. Jalix Hunt backed up by A.J. Epinesa. Zach Bourne backed up by Smile Mondin. Jahad Campbell backed up by Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Reek Wolin backed up by Jonathan Jones. Now, we did hear today from Vic Fangio that he is hurt. So the backup to Jonathan Jones is Jacorian Bennett. Quinyon Mitchell backed up by Keely Ringo. Cooper DeJean backed up by Michael Carter and Mac McWilliams at nickel. Cooper DeJean at safety backed up by Michael Carter and Marcus Epps. Andrew Makuba is backed up by Andre Sam. So those are the starters with the backups. And then as Adam talked about guys that could be in play, I think guys that you want to watch as the preseason comes around. You're going to have Johnny Wilson. You're going to have Willie Lampkin, Miles Hinton. You're going to have Cameron Williams. You're going to have Eli Stowers, Grant Calcaterra, Cam Latu. You're going to have, I would assume, Will Shipley. You're going to have on defense guys to keep an eye on. Uar Bernard's not going to be a 53-man guy, but he's probably going to be a guy you're going to want to watch, the 7th-round pick with no football experience. You are going to look at probably Jacorian Bennett and Cole Wisniewski, the draft choice. So some guys to keep an eye on as we get ready for the start of the preseason. And, of course, you can listen to the Eagles preseason football right here. Some breaking news with the Phillies. Alex McFarland has been recalled from AAA. Alan Rangel was optioned. So, yesterday we talked a lot about why not McFarland, why Sugar. I still ask that question because Sugar did not get, unless McFarland was not eligible to be called up. Now, we thought that he was eligible to be called up yesterday, but now Rangel gets sent back and McFarland is here. Could Alex McFarland finally have some sort of role with this team? We will find out tonight. If the Phillies have a situation, now their bullpen should be a little bit better rested, but we'll see. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. We got so much more to go, including the Nuggets on the other side. Now, today's Nuggets. Now, yesterday on the Nuggets, we talked a little bit about our lunch outing with Billy Schwein from the locker room. Now, I'm a big Billy guy. Listen, I have invited Billy to come to Radio Row with us multiple years in a row now. So I said, yeah, yesterday I went to lunch with him, and he was just a little out for me. That's all. It's not good-hearted. I don't dislike the guy. But Billy apparently did not like it, and he wants to retort for the Nuggets. That's coming up next on the Sports Bash Live. We got that and more on the Bash. Kevin Cooney and the Cooney Report at 5 o'clock tonight. We've got Do You Remember? Some good ones today. You're going to stick around for the end of the show. Don't go away. More Sports Bash. All right, 4:30 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Tomorrow we are live at Yuri's in Wildwood, the Sports Bash. Don't forget to check out my guy, Rocco, over at Key Acura of Atlantic City. You know, you go over there and they get you with consistency. And that's exactly what you need, and that's what you'll find at Key Acura of Atlantic City. My friend Rocco and his team have built a loyal fan base of repeat customers. They do things the right way year after year. Acura, if you've ever wanted to drive an Acura, go see my guy Rocco. See for yourself. Key Acura Atlantic City, smaller friendly dealer. Online, KeyAcuraAtlanticCity.com. All right, so yesterday on the Nuggets, I had lunch with the Schwein on Saturday. Now, I'm a big fan of the Schwein, but I didn't realize he was a little upset with me. I said, hey, I walked in. I'm a quiet guy. I'm quiet. I'm low-key. I am quiet. I don't want anybody to know who I am. I don't say, hi, I'm Mike Hill. Never. That's just not my personality. Well, I walked in with the Schwein. I got hit over the head. I just wasn't ready for it. And then the Schwein attacked me last night. He attacked me. He called me ungrateful. Ungrateful was the word that he used because he got me a free pliable. Now, Nuggets, you put me in the category of ungrateful? I mean, I thought that was a little harsh. The text message that he sent, it looked like he had some hurt feelings, man.
Yesterday we didn't get the Nuggets started about like 11 to 12 minutes into the actual Nuggets segment because we were going over your lunch with Schweim. And now you're a rookie when you go out to lunch with Schweim. You haven't done it all. I'm a vet of going out to lunch with you, the Schweim. So I know you two are very different personalities. And I think it's hysterical that the first time you go out to lunch with Schweim in a while or for wherever, that you are the complete opposite, quiet, silent, don't want anyone, coming up to you, saying anything and, announcing you're there. And then you got the Schwein on the opposite end of the spectrum. And I thought PG made a great point. You are Chase Utley and Schwein is Jimmy Rollins. A little more bombastic.
Now, listen, we're having a little fun. We're having, I'm just explaining the lunch. And I said I was a little taken aback. I wasn't aware that I was going to get like a WWE pyro entrance here. When he opened that door, he almost had his own theme song when he walked in. And I said, man, I wasn't ready for that. Well, then the Schwein last night sends a flurry of text messages. Now, what did you think of these text messages?
Now, listen, Schwein is saying it was a little exaggerated on your part because, you are a quiet guy. So maybe he in his defense, he might think, this is how I roll. I think that's a little exaggerated from the Mike Gill situation. So I told him to join the show and come on Nuggets to settle it right here, right now.
If I was trying to be someone who was ungrateful or didn't like the Schwein, would I travel across the country with you and bring you to the Super Bowl? Because I was mortified when I walked in yesterday and you had lunch and basically announced to not only the place we were at, but the Target down the street heard that he was at the Playa Bowl.
He's got a high volume. This we know. We know. So is he backstage? Did he go backstage?
The Schwein is here. Now, he, of course, doesn't have the volume off, so it's echoing all over the place.
I'm buying a ride here. I'm working in Playland. I'm in my car. So I'd rather make the best do with what we can here. But you two guys went overboard on me yesterday. And by the way, I'm miffed at Nicky. Nick, what do you gotta warn Mike Gill to going out with me? What exactly are you warning him to watch out for?
Well, listen, Mr. Mike Gill is a very quiet, subdued.
No, I understand that. I'm asking you. What are you gonna warn? You said I forgot to warn you. Warn you about what?
You got high volume.
We go to lunch. All we do is laugh and have a good time. And you gotta warn him that you gotta watch with the Schwein. I thought that. So here's the three beefs I had. One, the impression of you guys were making of me was horrible. No, that's number two. Number three, these people. The Pliable is one of my clients, one of my customers, and the owner Joe told me when I go in there, tell him who I am. It wasn't like I don't go into just any place of business and say I'm this and I'm that. Look, no, it was the Summers Point Pliable location, and he told him to tell him who I am. And I don't think if I am loud, and I know I am loud because I worked around airplanes, but I also have a twin brother. And if you didn't get there, if you weren't the louder one.
Well, I said I just was a little taken back by the show.
Well, Mike, I think the word you used, Mike,
hey,
was
I'm
mortifying.
here. You know, that you guys sponsor my show. I appreciate it. You know, you went into order in a mode that I wasn't ready for.
You used the word mortified.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't when you sat down next to me and we sat pretty close quarters. You didn't appear to be mortified, so maybe you just hide it well. I don't know.
Was I kind of like sitting like very like?
No, we were talking about traveling
and kind of moving as far away from you as.
No, you were really close to me, and like Nikki's enjoying this. You realize that, right?
This is great.
Yeah, of course. Yesterday he was in tears yesterday when I brought he didn't know I was going to tell him this, and it hit me. I said, Earnshaw would appreciate what I had to go through on Saturday.
First of all, I don't even. You know why it's a bad impersonation to me? Is that I don't even know what to call it. I know it's 97.3 ESPN, but what other WTHT or something? I have no idea what those letters are. So I know I didn't use that.
You're like some of my text message people. Sometimes I have to remind them. It's a show. We do some things for like ultimate effect, but you unfortunately didn't take it very well. And for that, I apologize. And for the 4 people who texted you or however many who said, why are all these people to me? That's out of luck. You are ungrateful. You can tell those people to beat it.
Well, here's what happened. So I worked in the parking lot at Playland yesterday. It was so hot and so humid. And I pedaled my bike to work. I get home. I'm at home for maybe 10 minutes because I had to coach my daughter's game last night, which we lost. And that probably contributed to the fact that I was upset. But I got home, and as soon as I get home, I'm sweating. Like, I can't even see I'm sweating so much. And I get 3 text messages from people saying, they're ripping you on the show right now. So I went and got a shower. Then we had to get over to the game. And I said, Josh, I hear they're ripping me. Send me the clip. I didn't hear the clip until after we lost. So I was fit to be tied from that, too.
All right. Well, I said, listen, I don't think that it was any malicious malice here. I said, if I didn't, I just said, hey, I was caught off guard. That's all. I don't think like that's something think this guy, what a jerk or what an ape. I said, I just was a little caught off guard at how animated the guy was when he ordered. I'll go with the strawberry. I'll go with the blueberry. I mean,
so that's true.
Like that. That's all.
That's true, Nick, and I'll tell you why. So what happened was I've never been to Apply-Balls. I've never ordered Apply-Balls. I've been there with my daughter, what she ordered, but I've never looked at the menu. It's the first time I ever ordered by myself. The only other time I ever had Apply-Ball was when Joe Walsh, who's the owner of Apply-Balls, he said, let me create one for you. You'll love it. Well, he put peanut butter in there, and I didn't like it. It defeated the purpose. So when I went there, I wanted to
stop right there. Somebody not liking peanut butter is worse than a guy eating a hot dog with nothing on it.
Not on something that's sweet, like whatever. What's the acai in there? That's sweet.
Peanut butter is the greatest invention of all time.
I love peanut butter, but not my acai bowl, Mike.
So he says to the girl, I'll have an acai.
Here's another little caveat to this, Mike. I got to be personable because I have to sell advertisements. So I have to be a little, I don't want to say flamboyant because that's not the right word, but I have to be a little animated to people they got to, let's face it, if they're going to buy advertising, they got to like me, right? So I got to be personable. I can't be shy and introverted. I got to be a little bit more extroverted.
Well, I'm shy and introverted, and I have plenty of sponsors.
Well, you don't have to go out and sell like I do.
Sometimes I do. I come up with the ideas a lot of time. Today I went to get my lunch, for instance, and I picked it up, and they said, what's your name? And I didn't want to say my name. Right?
This is why I can't even imagine being there on Saturday.
Like if Billy would have walked in, she said, hey, can I help you? I said, I'm here for pickup. She said, what's your name? I said, Mike. She said, Mike what? And I was like, yeah. So if Billy would have walked in, he wouldn't have said, I'm here for pickup. He said, hi, I'm Billy Schwein from the locker room, here to pick up my lunch.
I don't like peanut butter. I like blueberries. I will give you that, but that's a bad imitation of me, though, Mike. You're accurate with what I said, but your imitation of me needs some work.
Yeah, by the way, Alex texted in and he said, make sure you bring up the fact that Billy spilled half of his bowl down his shirt. I pointed at him. I said, dude, you got a strawberry on the table. You spilled half the other thing on the front there. You had it going down his shirt. I was like, oh, that was a child.
It just gets better. What a trip one. I missed one Saturday.
Nikki, as far as me knowing people, I walked in there. The first person I see is a girl from Bob's Grill. Lisa. She used to work at Bob's Grill. I saw it. It wasn't like I shouted, but there was an echo in the place. It was such a big place. And then where we were sitting, it was Paul Stefano, Mike, who's the guy that did the voiceover. He's from Maryland. I mean, what are the chances of him being in there? He's from Maryland. He was in Pliables.
I know.
Listen,
well, and I said yesterday, I said he walked up to Billy. I said he recognized his voice because he could hear it while he was taking a leak in the bathroom.
I can't believe this. This is unbelievable. Well, I think we settled it. It was just an adventure on Saturday. That's all. It was an adventure, and we have.
When do I talk to you on Saturday? When do I see you on Saturday?
One last time, Schwein. One last time.
Mike, I want to say that since we do have Nick on, he's been an asset to the show, and we're going to miss him because Nicky has a way about him that we can disagree, and it's like a lighthearted, like a sports conversation of strategies and whatnot, but it's all lighthearted. And he's really been an asset to my show. And we're gonna miss Nick.
I appreciate that,
Nick, and we will have more to tell people about that in the coming days. I'm sure Nick will be on Saturday and can talk to the locker room people, but we're going to have as much fun with the Nuggets as we can while we still have them. Now, Billy, if your feelings were hurt, too bad. Grow up.
Hey, Mike, I got to go back to work. I'll see you.
See you.
See you.
There you go.
There you go.
The Schwein.
Yeah. He texted us last night. I got the text message, and the guy was just infuriated with the fact.
Well, we learned that, he did lose his championship game last night with his daughter, so he was a little upset last night.
Somebody sent me an exclusive picture of him on the sideline.
I got a few of those, too. I think we might have similar sources.
Okay. Well, I had no doubt that he would blow that game.
See, no, I saw Schwein win a championship. I attended him when his team went undefeated about a year or two ago, and then he got fired after going undefeated because he was too hard on the players.
I don't know if it was too hard. Maybe he was too loud.
So you can hear him across the gym. I didn't know he spilled half the pliable on himself.
I forgot about that. Alex brought that up when he texted in.
Yep.
So Berardis, who produces the Sunday Locker Room, he met up with us afterwards. Well, I didn't know he was coming. Well, Billy ordered his food and then took the food and started eating. I said, yo, Berardis is here. And Berardis says, well, guys didn't wait for me. I said, I didn't know you were coming. I would have waited. I'm a waiter. I don't eat my food until the whole party's there or until everybody else gets the food.
You two going on a lunch date is like oil and water. It's like oil and water.
Yeah.
Very quiet, you. And then you got Schwein, who's just Schwein. He's a very high volume individual.
I'm just I'm very introverted, very quiet,
very
drama-free. I don't want anything to do, with anything. I don't really talk to anybody outside of the walls of my house.
You're an introverted individual, which is okay. Yeah. I feel like I'm an extroverted introvert, if that makes sense.
I, for 4 hours, am very animated. And then the other hours of the day, I don't say much.
There you go. Well, there you go. So it's all settled. It's all in good fun. I wanted to bring the Schwein on to clarify his side of the story. And,
I should read the text message that he sent to our group last night. I thought at first it was to just you. I thought it was to just me. But then I realized it was to everybody. He said, several people text me, said that you guys were ripping me on the show. Josh sent me the clip. Mike is the biggest exaggerator I've ever heard in my life. How ungrateful you guys are. He says, I am loud because I'm hard of hearing. I have a very competitive twin brother, so that's why he's
true.
loud.
So now he's putting the blame on Bobby for his high volume.
Yeah, well,
come on, man.
Listen, I was listening to a
See what
podcast
happens
the other
when
day.
I don't go? See what happens?
Yeah. Well, the next time, if I would have known Alex was coming, I would have waited for him outside before I went in.
Oh, what a trip. I've been to many events with you, with Schweib. It's always a good time with both of you. But, I gotta handle everybody, make sure everyone's, in the right mind. It gets out of control when I'm not there. It gets out of control.
Yeah.
Let me take over.
I'll tell you what, it was definitely a scene, man. It was a scene. What do you got?
All right. I mean, how can we not? I didn't know how long that nugget would go, but that was just for my entertainment and hopefully the listeners' entertainment. I know Billy's audio was not the greatest because, Billy versus technology, but I did want to talk a little bit about the Sixers schedule release. I am so thrilled that the Sixers are playing the Knicks on opening night. And I have a couple of reasons why. It's funny. I was texting with Josh earlier, and he is not a fan. A fan of the Knicks and Sixers on opening night. I am. I love it. I think it's great. Because I want Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Dean Wade, Justin Edwards, whoever on the Sixers, not necessarily LeBron and Jaylen Brown because they've won championships before, to watch that banner go up at MSG and make sure that doesn't happen again. I want them to see it with their own flesh, to see it and make sure that does not happen again. There would be nothing better than for the Sixers to spoil that night for them. The last time the Sixers spoiled something for the Knicks, it wasn't the playoffs. That's for damn sure. But it was the NBA Cup. I was at that game. The NBA Cup, they spoiled that night and that celebration for the Knicks. Why not do it twice? I hope they ruin ring night for the New York Knicks. I think this is the best thing basketball could have done. And a lot of people don't like it. I think it's the greatest thing they could have done on opening night is have the Sixers and Knicks play. And hopefully, in our case, the Sixers make a statement in game one.
Well, it was our unsportsmanlike moment of the day today. Evan Cohen said that it's undoubtedly that LeBron is still the face of the NBA.
Yep.
He's on Christmas Day at 5 o'clock against the Lakers. He's on opening night against the Knicks on the road. And I said before, the NBA wanted to get LeBron back on the East Coast so they can get him into all of these high-profile situations. And right now, if the Sixers aren't the highest profile team in the league, they are matched up with all of the high-profile teams in the league, and the Knicks may be the highest profile coming from New York and being the defending champions. Well, it's just like anything. WWE needs to find someone to wrestle their biggest star, so they go out and find someone to pair up with that guy, and they headline him at WrestleMania. Well, this is WrestleMania. They've got their biggest star. The Knicks going up against its biggest adversary right now. It's the Sixers. So you're going to see a lot of this. You're going to see LeBron matched up with the the Knicks, the Celtics, the Cavs, the Heat, the Lakers, the Spurs. I'm sure anytime Oklahoma City that those teams play, they will be in the national window.
It's funny. The ticket prices are already outrageous. They're already on the sites. I've been on a couple of different sites. $2,000. It's right around $2,000 for that opening night just to get in at MSG, Sixers, Knicks. That's $2,000. And I also looked for myself in Pete G's case to go to the home opener against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're sitting right around $600-700 at this point to get in.
In the bleeds?
In the bleeds.
Wow.
And my $20 bleeds are gone, Mike. They're gone.
That's a big domino effect.
I hate to say this, but it's true. That stadium, Xfinity Mobile Arena, is literally MSG South now because of the prices. It literally is. It's MSG South because of the prices. We thought MSG was expensive for a while. Xfinity Mobile Arena is going to be very expensive all year long. All year long.
Well, listen, that's the price of doing business.
I know.
Of having a team like this. The question will be, who's going to be sitting up there? If it's not you and Pete G, the people who appreciate the bleeds, who are you getting up there?
I don't know. Listen, I might have to take out another credit card just for this year. I might have to, add some more debt into my life. I might as well. Hey, I'm not going to get this chance ever again. You got 2 years. of this core, 2 years of this
Yeah.
chance. It might even be 1 because he could opt out after this year. LeBron James could. So, I think I probably will drop a good amount on one game this year. I don't know when it will be, but you got to remember, they're going to miss time. And LeBron, like, you have to be very careful what games you're picking when you're going to the Sixers now, especially with how expensive they are and when those guys are going to show up and play.
This is what it's going to be for at least the next year. I mean, definitively the next year, you are getting expensive tickets, high-profile games, probably, sometimes it's annoying to always play the high-profile game because you like the 7 o'clock normal game, but now you're getting the 7:30 or the 8 o'clock. You're getting the Amazon Prime. You're getting the Peacock. You're getting all those things.
Yeah, I know. You're getting all that in between. It'll be some late nights for Sixers fans out there, but man, it's going to be worth it. This doesn't happen all the time, so I want to just enjoy it while it's here.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be in a spot for the next year or so where this will be the biggest, the biggest thing that the Sixers have had for a little while.
Yep, there you go. Since 01, 25 years.
01 was the last time they played the Lakers on Christmas Day.
Yeah. Didn't they play the Knicks on opening night too?
In 2001, that I don't remember, but I know they played the Lakers on Christmas Day that year.
I think they might have played the Knicks on opening night, if I'm not mistaken, or home opener or something that year.
All right. Well, Allen Iverson that night, I think, had like 35 points.
Yeah, probably did. Oh, man. What a team this is going to be. What a team. All right, Mike.
By the way, here's a nugget for the people out there. Alex McFarland has been called up by the
see that. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Well, last night, real quick, they called up Chase Sugar. And then after the game, Don Mattingly said the next pitcher would have been Stubby. So Sugar got called up yesterday and wasn't even available to throw? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I know. We didn't get into it, but I know. This team is very frustrating. And, Nick Bacone put out an article in Crossing Broad today saying, does this team give 2022 vibes? Remember how angry we were at this team heading into the postseason when they limped in? I'm going to look at the positive. I hope that's the case. I hope we're angry until they get into the postseason and go on a run. All right?
2022. Remember, it was Alec Boehm got hit by a pitch, and then that started that whole inning.
I know. Right? I know.
All right, Earnshaw. Good Nuggets.
I'll talk to you. See you.
All right, there's the Nuggets today on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Cooney report on the other side. We'll see what Kevin Cooney has to say about this Phillies team. Also get his thoughts on this season. Is it slipping away? They're one game up in the wild card. We'll get Kevin's take on that and more. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Clark's Moving and Storage. If you need a big move, Clark's Moving and Storage has it for you. Give them a call, big or small. They can make that move a reality. 609-889-0780. Visit clarksmoving.net. Clark's Moving is an authorized agent for Wheaton Worldwide Moving, so you can use them to move you across the country or even around the world. All right, 5 o'clock, driving you home, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Phillies lineup dropped just a couple of minutes ago. It's always brought to you by Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's, now open. Fantasy football season's here. Book your fantasy football league draft at Chachi's 13th floor. It's a great spot for that. That's a great venue to do your fantasy football draft. Secluded, very private. And for $20 a person, your draft package includes great food and cold beer at Chachi's 13th floor above Rafici's on the White Horse Pike in Absecon. Text your name and where you're from right now to 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Your name and where you're from, and if the Phillies score exactly 13 runs tonight, you're entered to win a $100 gift card. If they don't score 13 runs, don't worry. You're entered for a $25 gift card, which we will announce on Friday's show. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Arise, Realmuto, Scott, Marsh, Bohm, and Crawford. Yeah, Bohm is back. No Hill tonight. So that's their lineup tonight, brought to you by Chachi's 13th floor on the White Horse Pike in Absecon. Kevin Cooney's back, his Substack, the Cooney Report, as he joins me every Tuesday. We break it all down, and you wrote about it in his latest Substack, Slipping Away. And last night, boy, that game had a lot in it. Slipping away. Don Mattingly, almost helpless, Kevin. Just a helpless manager yesterday saying, I have no options here. What am I supposed to do? It was kind of a sad night, even though they won the game.
Yeah, and I think that the problem with them right now is that you expect them every night to frustrate you in some form. And obviously the bullpen is the major cause at this point. There's not a lot of different options. There's not a lot of different ways to go about things. And they just keep going day after day after day into frustration with this team at this point.
So what do you make of last night? I mean, they've called up McFarland today. I thought this was such a weird situation. They call up Sugart yesterday, but Kevin, Sugart wasn't available. You called up a guy that wasn't available to pitch last night. Is that essentially what they did last night?
Yeah, pretty much. There was probably a roster reasoning in a sense of limitations. Some things have to take place in different ways for it to, for guys, once they're sent down, there has to be there's an injury reason. And then when the injury thing is corrected, they could, and all that. Maybe McFarland wasn't down the full 10 days. I don't know. It's just weird. And obviously, I know Don joked that he was going to end up going to a position player if it got beyond that. Well, he can't even do that with the way the new rule is. That you have to be down like 6 or 8 or something and beyond the 7th or 8th inning. But they're in a bind. And part of the reason they're in a bind is David Dombrowski didn't do enough at the trade deadline to really fix it.
Yeah, so by the way, prior to tonight's game, the Phillies did call up Alex McFarland to make room for him on the 26-man roster. They sent back Alan Rangel. So you take a look at that. Why if they, you're okay, fine. Maybe there was something there. They call up Sugart. He's not available. But it seems like they don't trust McFarland, or they don't really have a role for him, or they don't know what to expect. What kind of role do you expect from McFarland now?
I don't know if they're set roles. Like, I think that's part of the problem. Short of Duran in the back end, I don't know if they're set roles with this team and their bullpen. The two guys who appeared who had set roles were Alvarado and Kirkring in the back end. And to be honest, they've lost them. I mean, even if they should lose them. I shouldn't say they have lost them, but they should lose them at this point. If they haven't lost them,
they don't have anybody who has grabbed them. So my question might be, should they give McFarland the opportunity to win this role? Or is that
I don't
going
see
too
them
far?
I think that's going a little too far. But here's the thing. Brooks Raley probably should be the guy who should be the 8th inning left-hander. He should. And they can't do it. They can't do it at this point. It's just amazing to me that We talked about this for the entire month of July. You can't count on this bullpen. You can't basically have everything run status quo. You need an eighth inning bridge guy. And they made no moves to fill eighth inning bridge guy. They keep doing the same things they did before the trade deadline.
Well, and the funny part is, Kevin, I don't know where you were at the beginning of the year, but you could make a strong argument that many said, man, this bullpen is significantly better than last year's bullpen. You got Duran for the full year. You went out and got Keller and gave him $11 million. Then you had Alvarado coming back, and I guess the thought was, hey, Alvarado's been pretty good for you. Well, that blew up in your face. Keller wasn't pitching that good to begin with. Now he's done for the year. Now you're stuck with Kerkering, Bolin, Alvarado, Tanner Banks, who was great for you in years past. He wasn't very good. Then he gets hurt. They just have no eighth inning option. I guess Bolin's the guy.
I would say right now, I had somebody float me an interesting theory yesterday. Okay. And it was one of a colleague of ours, and I won't name his name, but it made sense now I think of it. And this is after I published a Substack. A colleague goes, what if they're not going all in on this year? And you're going, well, how are you not going all in on this year? Okay. With the potential lockout and everything. Maybe part of the reason they didn't really go and trade, Gage Wood for an eighth inning guy is because they feel like they can use those prospects next year in a shortened season where their chances may be better. Because their older players won't be affected as much if it's a 100-game schedule, okay? And then try to unload it at that point, okay? If that's the case, shame on them. Just shame on them. Because you're another year older with Zach Wheeler, who you don't know how he's going to react. You're another year older with Aaron Nola, and he's already pretty much shot. Go down the line here, it's just not feasible to think that you should not have gone all in. And yet the lack of moves at the deadline did not address starting pitching, did not address right-handed bat, did not address eighth inning guy. That is a major, major, major red flag. And the only bit of logic to me could be that way of thinking.
Yeah, I know you're right. If that's a situation, and that's like yesterday, to me, Kevin, you bring up Chase Sugared in the game yesterday before the game. You already know what Sugared is. He's a 4A guy. He seems like a guy that can get you through June, July, and now you're in the nitty-gritty. Why not find out if your best pitching bullpen prospect can actually help you out? Instead, you call up Sugared again, and it's one of those situations where really you think Chase Sugared's helping you make the playoffs. How about try to find out whether or not your best bullpen pitching prospect can help this team out starting now. And that's what I think when you look at things, it really is perplexing.
But maybe they're kind of telling you about Alex McFarland in a way.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then fine. Then that would be unfortunate, but obviously you look at the numbers and say, this is the best guy we got. Now, you're right, because Seth Johnson had great minor league numbers. He comes up and he can't get guys out. But this guy hasn't even been given the opportunity, whereas Don Mattingly seemingly is in love with Seth Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know. And obviously Seth Johnson now gone. I don't know what the dynamic is. This
was this like a Moneyball where they had to trade Seth Johnson so Mattingly stopped using him?
Maybe. That could have been it. I mean, look, I think at this point, they are at a point right now of trying to just wing this together. And I don't know if they're going to be able to.
Derek Hill, I want to get your take real quick on this, too. We'll get back into the bullpen, but as the lineup is out today, I said the other day, if you're going to hit Alec Boehm in the 8-hole, is it time to just move on from Boehm and move Harper back to first base and then put Hill and or De La Cruz? I'm not saying play the guy every day. You can rotate those guys so they don't get overexposed. But you saw that play they make in right field last night. They're not making that play with Bryce Harper playing right field. Is it better to have the better right fielder and have him hit 8th than Alec Boehm play first base and hit 8th?
Especially on a gimpy knee, if Harper is dealing with knee soreness like he's been, why are you going down that road? Why are you going to put him having him run more than he is right now? I mean, that's a pretty simple thing. By the way, I apologize. The dog is going crazy behind me here. So
he's very mad at Don Mattingly, right? Or I don't know. I'm not a big blame the manager guy when it comes to when he's got a short deck though. He's a few cards short of 52 here.
Yeah, but there's also moments. There's things that Mattingly's done that in the last week that have concerned me. I'll tell you. Yeah. Starting Harper on the stolen base in the ninth inning the other night with Arise at the plate. I know the theory is, well, you move Harper over to second, and Arise can then knock him in with a single. I don't want to take the bat out of Arise's hand because guess what? If Harper steals second, guess what they're doing? They're walking Arise probably.
And he was asked that question by one of the reporters. I don't remember who it was, but I don't think Mattingly
straight steal. Well, he said it was a straight steal. My argument would be if you're going to have Harper move, make it a hit and run.
Yeah, okay. I agree. No, listen, are there things if Mattingly's making a lot of these decisions, you're scratching your head. You're certainly saying, like last night, though, I'm saying, how does he not have anybody up with Rangel out there? Like Rangel was out of gas.
Nobody else.
But he had nobody else. Okay, so after the game, you find out he has nobody else. But okay, again, why would you have Sugar here if he wasn't available?
Well, why can't Alvarado go after 3 days off or 2 days off?
Well, that was another weird thing. Did you hear during the broadcast last night? They're like, well, Alvarado's walking around as if to give them the notion that, hey, I'm available. Are they penalizing him? Are they saying we're not using you? I thought that. Did you catch that last night?
I caught some of it last night. I mean, they're at a point right now. There's no rhyme or reason to anything that they're doing. I mean, they're just bubblegumming and baling wiring it together.
Well, as you wrote in your Substack, the Cooney Report, you guys can all check out. Brutal roster construction, questionable managerial decisions in the lineup, and bullpen usage. Fundamental mistakes. It all seems like this is, as you write, slipping away. And they got 43 games left, Kevin. It doesn't feel like this is a playoff feel right now.
I mean, if they get in, it might be because they play in now they have a pretty soft schedule the rest of August. You get the Angels in there, you get the Marlins a couple times, you got the Cardinals here this week and next week. The Twins aren't any great shakes. But if they get in, it's going to be a virtue of the Padres having to go through both Arizona and the Dodgers, I think. If you look talent-wise at what the Padres have, especially after getting Robbie Ray, and Casey Mize in their starting rotation. If you look at what the Padres have and what the Phillies have right now, the Padres are the better team, probably. Their roster depth, their lineup. You have Mason Miller in the back end, as good as Duran. Their bullpen leading up to that looks like it's a lot better, at least on paper, than what the Phillies have. And so, look, it's a 3-team race for 2 spots between them, Arizona, and San Diego. They better hope that the Padres slip back, or they better hope the Padres or the Diamondbacks slip up, because I don't know if they're going to get to a lot, especially if they get to that last week. Mike, if they get to the last week, you get Milwaukee in here, who could be going for home field advantage over the Dodgers. And then you get Tampa, who could be trying to hold off the Red Sox and the Yankees for the division and home field advantage for the American League playoffs. If that happens, that last week's not going to be a cakewalk. This isn't teams who are just happy to be there or resting up for the playoffs. That's going to be a tough week. They better be pretty securely in position at this point going into that last week of the season.
Hey, Kevin, I feel like one of the big differences between this Phillies team and the ones in 2022 that made runs, maybe even other teams that had chances, if you win the wild card game, you're now they're like the 4th or 5th team on the rung. There's not, hey, we upset somebody and now we go to a lesser team. Every team you play along the line is probably going to be better than you.
Who in 22 did they play in the wild card round?
St. Louis.
Who likely in 22 would they have to, or in 26 would they have to play in the wild card round?
Well, right now you're the 3rd. You might play a division champion. If you happen to move up to 2, you're going to get stuck playing the Cubs, who have all those lefties.
And if you're playing a division champion, you're most likely getting either the Dodgers or the Braves.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Right. It goes back and forth by the day of who's kind of the third one.
Right. But all three of them are bad matchups for the Phillies. The Braves might be the most appealing one, to be honest, because the Dodgers, I don't think they match up well with the depth of the Dodgers lineup at this point. And then you're facing Skubal and Otani or whoever is left there, Glasnow or whatever. And if it's the Brewers, you're talking about right. If you're the Brewers, you're going to have a fundamentally sound team that's not going to beat themselves, and you're going to have to beat them in their ballpark. I just don't see that.
I'm glad you brought up Glasnow because it made me remember a question I want to get your opinion on. We saw Painter last night, no hitter, threw well, he's thrown well 3 straight starts. I don't know that you could trust him in a playoff game. That being said,
high pitch count though.
Right, but my question would be: is he a viable option to be what the Dodgers did last year? Hey, you're going to pitch the 7th. You're going to pitch the 6th. You're going to be one of those guys that when we go to the bullpen, it's your arm we're going to instead of Chase Sugar.
Kirkering. Yeah.
Well, last year you went to David Robertson, and they're going to Ann Snell. You're going to Kirkering, and they're going to Glasnow. You're going to these guys. They got Sasaki. I mean, it was like, come on.
Is he viable?
Pitch in that role where he pitches a big 6th inning spot and maybe even gives you 2 innings.
I think they'll try it. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if he can handle it at this point. I mean, look at the lineups he's faced last 3. They had Baltimore. They had, obviously St. Louis isn't great and all that. I'm kind of holding off on the Andrew Painter love. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's ruined. I'm not saying they should trade him or anything. But I'm not sure I would be ready to put him into the 7th inning of a playoff game.
Okay, well, listen, I agree. I'm not saying this guy is going to get back to where we all thought he was, Cy Young possibility, top-level stud. But can he come in and pitch the 6th inning of a playoff game? You don't have any other options. And like last year, a lot of people criticized him because they used Robertson. Then he sat down and had to get back up again to come back the next inning. At least Painter's done some of that. In fact, his best performance of the year, Kevin, was the game he had the migraine and came out of the bullpen.
It was, and it may allow him to get through some of his nerves. It'll be interesting. But look, again, if they somehow make a run at this is almost this would be almost the greatest overcoming self-obstacles in the history of baseball, because they are the biggest ones that have hurt themselves between management decisions and, to be honest, their own, I don't want to say laziness is not the right term, but their own mental mistakes at this point.
So, obviously, and I think you wrote about it in the Substack today. Make sure you check out Kevin's Substack, the Cooney Report, Kevin Cooney on Substack. Everybody out there, subscribe. It's free. It goes right to your email address. It's a great read, a couple times a week. He is 54-37. So he got off to that great start. It's been kind of up and down. Has Mattingly done a better job than Thompson, or is the managerial position now kind of a wash?
That's a tough question because I don't know. One of the things, and we've talked about this in the past, is look at who Rob Thompson's last 14 games were against. Braves and Cubs. Mm-hmm. Arguably two of the top 4 teams in the National League, both standings-wise and probably talent-wise. If either one of them ended up in the World Series, I don't think any of us would be surprised. Don Mattingly's beat up a lot on a lot of the bottom feeders within this sport. And so I do think that does matter. I do think that there is an element here of he took advantage of what was there, and good for the Phillies and good for Don Mattingly and all that. But the managers have do I think if Rob Thompson had stayed here, it would have been the same? Yeah, I do. At some point, I think this team would have found its level a little bit. And look, I think the Phillies are going to tell you this in their own way at the end of the year if they bring Alex Cora in. That it's going to be, yeah, Don did fine, but we want to upgrade on the position.
Well, I feel like it's going down that road anyway, right? Don't you feel that way? That this has almost got to the point now where they're like, hey, Mattingly gave us the initial spark that we were looking for, and they need it. They needed that spark. I was in the group of, I thought you should have got rid of Rob last year before the season
and that's fine.
started.
I would have preferred that than what happened the way it did.
I agree.
You know?
I agree. 100%. I also look at, we talked about Derek Hill possibly going to right and moving Harper back into that spot. Do you think they make a move with Bohm? And or do they have enough audacity to say to Bohm, you're done, we're going to do that? Would they do that?
No. I think that they'll try to couch it as Alex Bohm is second on our team in RBIs. I mean, it is telling he got moved down.
You had a different answer.
Well, I was wishing I had a different answer too, but I think what they're trying to do now is justify it anyway. Hey, we'll put him eighth. You know, our lineup's a little deeper now. You know, and
That's
Bryson
my point. If you're going to hit him
Stott-
eighth, what's the difference? You know what I mean?
I get it, but I don't know if they're going to want to show one of their farm hands and the guy I think they do like personally up with a benching 2 months before he goes into free agency. I just don't.
You wrote a great Substack this weekend about Utley going into the Wall of Fame. And, you know, that weekend kind of shows you everything about what this team, you know, that team was not great. It was not great until later on. Do you think that this team can be similar to that team that gets better in September and kind of gets on that magical run?
Well, they've done it. They did it in 22. And then, you know, the last couple of years, let's be real, they haven't done it. You know, 24 and 25, they were not that. You know, 22 and 23, they were. I don't think they have that gene in them at this point. I think that part of that is age. Remember, one of the things the Utley, Rollins, Howard years when they did those runs, and what I think they really benefited from was the fact that they had a lot of younger guys. You know, Jimmy was about 27, 28. Chase was about 26, 27. Ryan was about 27, 28. Okay. They kind of got on that run because they had a lot of youthful energy, and they took advantage of older teams that were wearing down as the season went along. Not that way this year. It's the opposite, to be honest. The veteran experience can go two ways. You can either outsmart teams or you can get fatigued. And this team to me seems more likely to get fatigued than to outsmart teams just based on, you know, their body of work.
All right, Kevin Cooney on Substack, the Cooney Report. It's a great read. I enjoy it. Gets right to your email box. You can just put your email in. He'll send it right to you, and you can read along. We talk about it right here on the Sports Bash Live. It's the Phillies tonight. Go ahead.
No, I want to point out, Mike, the professional you are, that you can hear my dog in the background, and he's doing his zoomy circles, and you did not feed the dogs. I feed the dogs every day. I feed, but yeah, I mean, no, the fact that you were able to keep right on going with the line of questions, even though the dogs are going insane, to me is kudos.
Hey, they kept me here for a while, maybe because I am ill-distracted, right?
That's true. So,
thanks, buddy.
No problem, Mike.
All right. Kevin Cooney, everybody. The Cooney Report here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Love catching up with Kevin. We've worked together in a couple different stops, and getting a chance to just, you know, go back and forth once a week here has been a lot of fun. And make sure everybody out there gets the Cooney Report. It's a free newsletter. He sends it right to your email address on Substack. And I've been enjoying it, man. I've been really enjoying having Kevin on as a guy who has been covering the Philadelphia sports teams, mainly the Phillies. He's been a lot of Phillies stuff here. That's live on 97.3 ESPN. So we got a lot still to do. We got the Phillies fastball on the way. I want to tell you about the Branches outreach. You know, guys who listen to the show, you know, I've been volunteer coaching for years and years and years. In fact, next week I won't be here because the team that I coach, we're going to the World Series, and volunteering is nothing close to what the Branches outreach does. They go out and help the people in Cape May County. They stock pantry shelves. They support families. They connect people with advocacy, case management, resources that can change people's lives. And last year alone, the Branches outreach served nearly 14,000 warm meals, provided more than 6,400 pantry distributions, and help more than 15,000 family members put food on the table. So, if you're a year-round resident or you're just here visiting, you can help them. They're looking for a new van so they can get around to the people to deliver the meals and all the pantry distributions. It's called the Road Ahead campaign. And if you want to help out with that, visit thebranchesoutreach.org and support the Road Ahead campaign today and keep the branches moving. When we come back, it's today's Phillies Fastball. We'll talk to Oscar about what he sees from this bullpen moving forward now that Alex McFarland is here. 5:33, time for the Phillies Fastball. Oscar Budajin's back. It's Phillies Fastball, the fastest Phillies conversation on your radio. It's brought to you by Ventnor Social. Place to go to catch the Phillies tonight on their 20 big screen TVs. Looking for a place to go eat, drink, and watch the game. Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. Oscar Budajin is back. It's time for today's Phillies Fastball. A win last night, but boy, Oscar, that one didn't give you a lot of hope that things are starting to turn around here. In fact, it was painful to watch. It started out well. Andrew Painter's throwing a no-hitter. He looked like he's having a great night. And then, holy moly, they held on for dear life there.
Then the party started, Mike. I mean, the Alan Rangel experiment continues. Look, we pulled this game out of a hat. I mean, it was. I thought all along that we were gonna tie the game, and then what Mattingly said after the game. I mean, to me, it's puzzling that Stubbs was the guy. And I heard the beginning of your show talking about Sugar. Why are they bringing Sugar? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, why didn't you bring McFarland? The only explanation that I can logically think is that Sugar had been with the team and he traveled with them. It's the only explanation. I mean, that it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, today, so Mattingly said the Phillies needed Rangel to eat the innings on Monday. So they brought back Sugar, eligible after getting option only because Killian went on the IL. Rangel threw 55 pitches. Then McFarland comes up. So why not use Sugar yesterday if he was actually available when Rangel was basically out of gas?
Yeah, he had pitched, a couple of innings, a couple of days before, so he might have been out. I mean, maybe he came and he said, look, my arm is dead. I mean, I cannot pitch. And that's why they were going to do the experiment with Stubby. I mean, maybe Stubby could have pulled the magic there. I mean, look.
But doesn't that, Oscar, doesn't that like, okay, they called up a pitcher last night when they knew their bullpen was short, but they called up a pitcher who essentially said, I'm not available?
It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense to me. Look, Mike, there's some things about this team and the Mattingly, let's call it experiment for lack of a better word, that is troublesome. Look, I know that Mattingly is very vocal at conveying what he thinks, which is fine. But the reality is that, I mean, we find ourselves in a very difficult spot. And look, we're on a dog race right now with the Diamondbacks and the Padres, and they're playing better baseball than the Phillies right now. The Phillies are, I mean, this bullpen, listen to this. Since July 1st, this bullpen ERA is 5.43, the second worst in all of baseball. And the reality is you brought a couple arms, but, I mean, you're overusing. I mean, they have overused those pitchers, and we're in trouble. We're in deep trouble with this bullpen.
They did call up Alex McFarland today. It's his third time up here, but he's only made one appearance since he's been up here. It was a scoreless inning against the Dodgers in which he went up against some heavy hitters for that team, and, they didn't score a run on him. So we saw him once. Do you anticipate that the Phillies will give him a larger sample size and try to find out what he brings?
Well, and he went to AAA, right? And he had 4 appearances, 4.1 innings, 1 hit. He had strikeout 8, a couple of bases on balls. I mean, the guys have proven, he proved it in AA. He proved it so far in AAA. Give him a fair chance. I do believe he's better than a lot of the pitchers we have in that bullpen going on right now. So this is his opportunity.
Yeah, this is his opportunity. And listen, I don't want to say, hey, just throw him into the 8th inning role, but he's been the closer in AAA and in AA.
12
hey,
saves.
Man, we need a high leverage guy. Let's see what you got, buddy.
Look, you don't have anything to lose. I mean, you don't have anything to lose, and that's where there's scarce resources there, and you need to use them right now. I mean, McFarland should get plenty of opportunity, and I won't only give it to him like in the 5th or 6th inning. I would give it to him maybe in the 7th, something a little bit more high leverage to see if this guy has what it takes for us in the postseason. I mean, we cannot be playing around here. I mean, compare our bullpen compared to the San Diego Padres bullpen with the 2 monsters they have there. I mean, they have the Morejon guy and they have Miller, the best pitcher best reliever in all of baseball. I mean, I do believe that we're better than the Arizona Diamondbacks. I don't think we're better. And I was listening to Kevin a few minutes ago, and I agree with him. I think the Padres are a better team than the Phillies right now, and Tatis is hitting in all cylinders right now.
McFarland, by the way, a 1.83 ERA, 55 strikeouts. He's got a low whip. Now, the one thing is, like, I'm not saying McFarland is going to come up here and get the job done. We have seen Seth Johnson, who pitched at AAA with great numbers, come up here and struggle. But at least you got to give the guy the opportunity to say, hey, we don't have anybody else. See if those AAA numbers and AA numbers can help us out here. I think they almost have to at this point.
I mean, look, I don't know who's overseeing the decisions on the bullpen. They must, Mike. They must use this guy and take full advantage of what he brings, because I'm telling you, he's a high caliber potential guy that you could use down the road. And if he proves yourself that he's really good right now, look, I mean, you will have a tremendous opportunity that you know already that you have one of your relievers for next year. So I think this is a tremendous opportunity both for the Phillies and for him to absolutely leverage this guy with 12 saves in AA.
Yep. Obviously, what you see from Painter last night, because we asked the question, I think that's going to be coming up if Painter keeps pitching well. Number one, do you trust him to pitch start a playoff game, number one, or do you look at him as possibly a guy that could help out your bullpen?
I think the word is progress. What we've seen over the last 3 starts, a 2.93 ERA in 15 innings. I mean, 8 hits, 16 strikeouts. I told you, the strikeouts to me is going to tell me if this guy is fooling guys or not. He had 12 whiffs yesterday, primarily on the changeup. The changeup was really good yesterday. His fastball was okay. I want better command of that fastball. When Burleson got that hit, he put a meatball in the middle of the plate. When he got the double that he drove in that run.
Yeah, well, it looked like he was getting tired.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And, I mean, location is going to be an issue there. Look, I like the kid. I like what the kid has. I like his potential. But he needs to absolutely prove that his fastball. Look, if he doesn't have a fastball, he cannot survive on curves and sliders and changeups. I mean, this guy needs to prove it with his fastball. And that's why he was such a high pedigree guy coming up.
But I'll tell you what, Oscar, for the first time, it looked like he did have a little movement, a little zip. He did have some strikeouts last, and it felt like a little bit more of a put away. Now, I'm not saying I believe that he is like all of a sudden going to be striking out 10 per 9, but at least last night he had 6 strikeouts and 5 in the third. It kind of said, okay, maybe his fastball has a little bit more something on it than we have seen.
I mean, the other question is, who is he facing, right? I mean, that's the other big question you need to have. I mean, when you're talking to San Luis Cardinals, they were not supposed to be in the playoff race, and they are. They got a couple good hitters in Burleson and the Walker kid, but outside of that, this team is more of a AAA team than a major league hitting team. I mean, that's kind of the reality of things. And before that, Baltimore. I mean, I want them going against some of the big boys coming up. So it'll be very, very interesting. And look, I mentioned it yesterday, is now or never, Mike. This is the part of the season where we need to absolutely create some separation. If not, we're going to be in deep trouble.
All right, Oscar, Bohm's back in the lineup tonight, but I'll tell you what, the play that Derek Hill made in right field last night makes you go back to our conversation from yesterday and wonder, should he be playing more right field and having Bryce Harper back at first base?
And how about Mundito playing shortstop as well? Look, Derek Hill has truly surprised me, to be honest with you. He's done a tremendous job. Kudos to the guy. He was given this opportunity, probably one of the last opportunities he's going to get in his career, and he's taking full advantage of it. I don't think he's an everyday player. He should be playing more often. I don't like what we've been hearing, that Harper has a sore knee. I think Harper needs to go back to first base, and I'm telling you, Alec Bohm should be in the bench, and coming out of the bench, that should be his role moving forward until he proves that he deserves to be in the lineup. Period. That's it. To me,
but I'll tell you what Sosa did last night. It's good to see that he gave him a little spark. He had not been giving him that same spark when he was playing left field as he did yesterday.
He's a shortstop. I mean, you saw when he got a ground ball to a shortstop, he's the happiest guy on earth. I mean, he used to play in this stadium as well, so there's another incentive there that he used to be part of the Cardinals system, and he grew up that way. So, but I love this guy. He's a free guy. He likes to play his thing. He enjoys playing the game, and I love seeing him. And I love that he had 3 RBIs yesterday, and he was the start of the game together with Painter. To me, those were the 2 most important guys in the game yesterday.
All right. Obviously, tonight you got Sanchez going. We feel pretty good whenever he pitches. And we talked about the fact that he has a chance to win 20 games here. If he gets a win tonight, he's going to be up at the number 16 with about 8-9 games left to go. They need every one of his starts, Oscar, to be a win.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality, we know who Sanchez is, and we know he's much better at home than on the road. He has a 10-1 with a 141 at Citizens Bank Park, 5-3 with a 448 at away from home. But he's done good against the Cardinals. I mean, he has the record here at I don't know, Busch Stadium. I don't know, it's still Busch Stadium, I guess, or it's 1-0 and a 2.89 ERA. And against the Cardinal, in his lifetime, he has 2-0 and a 3 ERA. So he's done good against his team, and I'm hoping Christopher can come through. And he knows he's going after. He's a guy that sets milestones. He got the milestone of being the starter at the All-Star game. Now his next milestone is getting to 20 wins. Now that we know he most probably won't win the Cy Young. So
I think he's going to get 20 though.
There.
I think he'll get to 20 wins, which would be the first time since Roy Halladay did it back in 2022. All right. Excuse me, not 2022, 2012. All right. The last time a major leaguer did it was in 2022. The last time a Philly did it was Roy Halladay. So there's our Phillies fastball today with the Phillies taking on the Cardinals. They need this one. Only 1 game up on the wild card. And, of course, we'll be keeping our eye on that with Phillies fastball tomorrow right here on the Sports Best. Tomorrow, post-game edition, we have a day Phillies game. So Oscar and I will be back tomorrow to break down the Phillies and the Cardinals game at 5:30 here on the Sports Best. All right, Oscar, thanks, man.
Go Phils. Let's go.
All right, as always, Oscar and the fastball team here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, bringing you the Phillies fastball. All right, when we come back, we're getting ready to wrap up the show, and it is today's Do You Remember events that happened on this day, August 11th. We got some Philly sports events and some other ones that you want to stick around for before we get out of here today. What happened on this day? Stick around to find out. It's next here on the Sports Bash. All right, 5:51, time for today's Do You Remember events that happened on this day, August 11th. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We gave you the Phillies lineup. If you want to try to get that $100 gift card, text your name and where you're from to 609-403-0973. And if the Phillies score exactly 13 runs in the game tonight, we'll pick one of those names for a $100 gift card to Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's. If nobody wins, well, that person could win a $25 gift card on Friday's show. We've had a bunch of winners so far. You want a free $25? Text your name and where you're from. And if we call your name out on Friday's show, you'll have a $25 gift card to Chachi's 13th floor, where you can book your fantasy football league draft for just $20 per person in the league. Your package includes food, cold beer, and a great spot for the draft. Chachi's 13th floor at Rafici's, now open on the White Horse Pike in the Phillies lineup. Back to their normal lineup that they've been going with. Holmes back in the lineup, Stott's back in the lineup. Real Muto's back in the lineup. And that lineup tonight, real quick, is Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Arise, Real Muto, Stott, Marsh, Bohm, and Crawford. Okay. Do you remember these events happened on this day, August 11th? Here we go. Today, August 11th, 1994, sad day. It was a walk-off bottom of the 15th at Veterans Stadium. Remember first baseman Ricky Jordan hit a walk-off single as the Phillies win 2-1 against the Mets. And it was the final major league game played before the 1994 player strike began. It ended the season for baseball. There was no World Series in 1994. And the Phillies-Met game in the 15th inning at the Vet, it was the last game played. Ricky Jordan hit the base hit in the bottom of the 15th off reliever Mauro Gazzo. Phillies win 2-1 in front of 37,605 at Veterans Stadium. Also on this day in 1979, Tug McGraw surrenders a grand slam. It would be the fourth grand slam that he gave up that year, a single-season Major League Baseball record for the most grand slams surrendered by a pitcher. Of course, he would bounce back the very next year and help the Phillies win the World Series. Also on this day in sports history, how about this one? Good one. 1929, Babe Ruth becomes the first Major League player to hit 500 homers. At the end of the 1929 season, Babe Ruth has 516 career homers. Roger Hornsby was next with 277. The Babe on this day in 1929. That was on this day. Do you remember on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN? All right, that's our show today. We'll do it again tomorrow live from Yuri's in Wildwood. Stop on out. Day game party tomorrow. 2:15 first pitch. We'll be live at Yuri's on the waterfront in Wildwood. Have a great night, everybody. No Best of the Sports Bash tonight. We'll have it again for you tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN.